After an extreme sense of dizziness, Emo suddenly woke up. The sound of cars rung by his ears. Fashionably dressed young people walked past him and looked strangely at his outfit. This was Ning Hai University. Emo immediately realized what this place was. He just entered the Dao-seeking tower and he came to Ning Hai University. Was this all true? Decades passed, the uni gates were changed. Emo sighed. He heard Kai Feng Immortal King say that the first level is Heart Demon Dao. He had been cultivating the 3-birth chant and used bitter bamboo. He didn't have Heart Demon at all. I have no Heart Demon. No need to Dao seek Heart Demon. Emo ignored the people around him and said. The next moment, he felt another wave of dizziness and he instantly disappeared from the entrance of Ning Hai University. Countless immortal spirit herb and rare materials appeared before him, as well as all sorts of runes and formation materials. A voice at the distant edge of heaven sounded. It was like the teachings of your master, the Tao of art, pill, forgery, rune, formation, Psi Dao they are. The path of pill Dao has thousands but the thousands come together to one. All sorts of pill concoction methods, forgery methods weave together in the air. This was a level for people to learn about pill Dao, forgery Dao, rune Dao and Psi Daos. Emo didn't expect the Psi Daos came from the Dao-seeking tower. Calculations, fortune-telling were all Psi Daos. Soon Emo cast these thoughts aside. He wasn't interested in rune Dao but pill Dao and forgery Dao as well as formation DOA had completely encapsulated him. He devoured these knowledge like crazy, completely forgetting about time. He even forgot he came to the Dao-seeking tower for Dao-seeking God art. After an unknown amount of time, Emo suddenly woke up. He didn't know how long had been in here for, but he knew he couldn't stay anymore. If he did, he might stay here for a few hundred to 1,000 years. Dao was endless. Even the pill Dao was enough for him to stay countless years. To him, he only needed to know some knowledge and the direction, then he would know what to do. Thinking about this, Emo ignored the sound by his ear and said loudly, I've passed Art Dao. No need to ask. Please go to level 3. This time, there was no reaction, it was still the sound of all sorts of Art Daos. Emo's face changed. Was he really going to study Art Dao here forever? If that's so, then wouldn't all those people who came in here be forever stuck at level 2? Or was his golden card different to other Dao cards? Thinking about this, Kai Feng Immortal King only told him there was Heart Demon Dao seeking and Magic Art Dao seeking. He didn't talk about Art Dao? Emo didn't have the mood to study Art Dao anymore. Half a day later, he said again, My pill Dao. Forgery Dao and Formation Dao has entered the Dao door. Please go to Dao seeking level 3. Rumble. Emo felt a huge sound in his sea of consciousness. Then there was the dizzy feeling and he was teleported away again. When Emo fell down, all he saw were magic arts. Emo rejoiced, he finally understood what was going on. At level 2, one must have at least one Art Dao that reached a certain level, then he could ask to go to level 3. Otherwise, he could only wait till the tower felt his Art Dao was mastered before teleporting him to level 3. Magic Dao person, all magic is born. How is it up to the cultivation method? Magic art, Dao art. The ethereal voice sounded again but Emo rejoiced. He needed to fuse his magic arts, he wanted God art. But after a long while, Emo saw and heard all sorts of cultivation method and magic artifact fusing together without being able to learn anything about God art. Even if he wasn't here, he could slowly derive those things from the 3-birth chant. The best thing about this place was that it gave him a general direction and overview. For other abstruse immortals, they might never be able to learn everything at level 3 but Emo lost interest. He said loudly, My Dao art has entered the Dao gate. I just lack God art. Please give me the way to learn God art. A golden stairway suddenly appeared before Emo. Emo immediately knew that going to level 4 wasn't through teleportation but these stairs. Emo stepped up the stairs without hesitation. When he got on the first stair, a voice asked, What is Dao? Then, Emo felt a powerful pushing force. He found it difficult to stay on stair 1 much less go up to stair 2. Emo knew that he had to answer or he would be pushed back to level 3. He immediately said human way earth, earth way heaven, heaven way Dao. Dao way is nature, thus nature is Dao. Emo didn't know where he got this answer but when he used 3-birth chant to derive cultivation method. There seemed to be this word, so he used it. As soon as Emo said this, the pressure was gone. Emo quickly went onto the second stairs. He heard that voice again. What is Tao? Same question. Emo frowned, and said again, matter born out of chaos. From the heavens and earth. Silent and lonely, solitary and unchanging, periodic and never-ending. It is the mother of world. I don't know its name. It is a word Tao. Emo walked up another step. Then he got the same question again. What is Tao? One yin one yang is Tao. What is Tao? What people plant, making everything not know its point of existence. This is Tao. What is Tao? Emo sweated cold. He found that no matter what he said, he could only walk a step forward. If this continued, he would be answering what is Tao his entire life. Is this Tao seeking? This seems too eerie. Emo wanted to talk bullshit, that was a type of Tao, but who knows if he would be teleported out. Emo stopped on the 8th stair and thought for a long while. I came to seek Tao, I want to know where to seek Tao. If this repeats, there is no need for me to seek Tao. Ask again, I am Tao. With this, Emo felt his essence spirit throb, his mind opened up. His answers had been other people's Tao. Everyone has his own Tao. My Tao is myself. He wanted to know where to seek Tao. Now he realized Tao was on himself. What need is there to seek Tao? Rumble. Emo felt the stairs below him disappear and he appeared at a new place. God Art Tao appeared before him. Emo knew he was at level 4 now. All sorts of magic arts and Tao arts jumped around in his mind, making himself want to immerse into it. Without thinking, his thoughts already dived in. Emo wanted to find a suitable God art for the world rock, but when he immersed himself in this feeling, the first thing that appeared in his sea of consciousness was Guan Feijin's finger. That finger was like the galaxy turning over, the mountain ranges exploding. It sucked in all the killing intent in the world and reappeared before him. Rumble. Emo's sea of consciousness rumbled. It was as though in the distant heaven that finger appeared again, pointing at his essence spirit. There was a shocking voice in mid-air. How heaven first finger? Annihilation. Annihilation? Emo's 6 senses were completely captivated by this finger. He kept taking in and digesting the laws in this God art. Time flew by. 1 day, 1 month, 1 year. When Emo woke up again, he punched out. The entire level 4 was swept by this fist. Space itself seemed to have been drawn in by this punch. It formed waves of death whirlpools. The entire space was getting annihilated, disappearing. Good punch. Emo looked at this and said, this will be my first God art, Void. Emo suppressed his excitement and said, Void was just 1 punch, but it fused Annihilation Finger and Space Law. It even had a sliver of Spirit Sense attack in it. Emo was certain that if he learned Void before, this fist could completely stop the Annihilation Finger and hard suppress it. Emo didn't study the second punch. It was already great luck that he created the first punch. He didn't expect himself to be able to create second one. Emo took out his World Rock. Void was a lethal blow, but the World Rock was his main method of attack. Emo didn't close his eyes in contemplation like before. He released the World Rock and smashed around everywhere. The entire space was filled by his World Rock. Spirit Sense and Immortal Essence dominated everywhere. Even the God Art laws here were damaged by World Rock. Luckily, there was no human nor immortal spirit beast here. When Emo used up all his immortal essence and more than 90% of his spirit sense, his World Rock suddenly stopped. Then, it appeared a few km away suddenly and smashed down. Emo paused and looked dazedly at the World Rock. He actually learned a new God Art, Instant Kill. After releasing the World Rock, who could defend against it if it suddenly appeared above one's head? Unless one had an extremely powerful defensive magic artifact. Otherwise, this was Instant Kill. Emo breathed easy. This move would be called Tie Mountain Crush. However, it used too much immortal essence and spirit sense. It was best to save it for crucial times. Emo put away the World Rock and stopped studying new cultivation method and God Art. His thoughts stopped on the Tie Mountain Crush. If he used Space Law on running and travel long distances in an instant, who can catch him? Emo couldn't teleport, nor did he know transmission. But he heard that transmission was a powerful god art that could teleport a person from one planet to another or even one heaven domain to another. Emo knew that it was impossible to use transmission with his current power. However, he could try study it. 3 months later, Emo completely gave up on it. He just always seemed to lack that one little bit. However, he didn't ask to go into Dao Seeking Tower level 5. He still needed to fuse 5-element magic and illusion cloud technique. He offended to many people other than increasing his own power. Running away was also very important for him. 2 months later, Emo's 5-element mobility was in great completion. 4 months later, Illusion Cloud 9 Strike was created, Rainbow Birth. Emo didn't want to perfect the 9th strike of Illusion Cloud. Illusion Cloud dominated the Cultivation realm, but in the Immortal realm it was rather useless. He couldn't fuse Illusion Cloud into a god art as it wasn't in great completion. Thus, he just created the 9th strike. It's the only strike that wasn't named after Illusion Cloud and the only strike that was between magic art and god art. This time, the 4th level opened up a stairway itself. Emo knew it was towards level 5. He was scared of it asking him countless questions, but he had to go on it. What shook him was that this time he wasn't stopped at all and easily came to the 5th level. Law Dao. When Emo saw these Law Daos, he was overjoyed. Emo knew clearly the use of law. He used law to save his life in that battle with Guanfeijian. But he only knew a tiny sliver of law. Just that was enough to let him kill Guanfeijian. One could see how important it was in the Immortal realm. Emo closed his eyes and felt the chaos chi here. It was indeed chaos chi like his golden page world. However, his golden page world wasn't compelled and he couldn't feel any laws. This was a complete chaos dimension. All sorts of laws circulated around his body. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, space, time, realm, life. Countless laws rushed at him. Emo remembered these information one by one and then tried to learn them. 3 months, half a year, 1 year had passed. When Emo slowly woke up, he found that all he knew well was still that tiny space law. He only remembered some information about other laws, but he couldn't learn it. What was going on? Was this Law Dao space worse than that palace he was in before? Emo frowned. In this year, he tried to learn all sorts of laws and tried to learn more about space law, but he didn't improve one little bit. Emo didn't try to learn laws anymore. He realized that it was a huge fortune for him to be able to learn a sliver of space law. It was more because Yen Juqian used it before him and he captured that law wave and immortal essence wave. Now, no one used law before him and his power was limited, so it was daydreaming to keep learning law. If Yen Juqian was status immortal or great immortal, then even if he used space law, Emo might not be able to learn it. Realizing this, Emo stopped trying to learn law. He knew he benefited something at least. There was the information of all these laws. One day when he could learn the laws, everything would work out together. Emo started studying instant transmission. He didn't want to give up that. This was top-grade escape ability. Powerful tool in battle too. This time, Emo wasn't disappointed. Half a year later, with the help of that sliver of space law, Emo learned a sliver of instant transmission. He could teleport 100 kilometers instantly. This wasn't big, but as his power increased, this distance would only get bigger. The only drawback was that it used a lot of immortal essence and spirit sense. After using instant transmission, Emo was very excited. No wonder everyone wanted to come in here. This was a haven for cultivation. If he could stay a few hundred years in each level, how much would he accomplish? Before coming in, Emo asked how long people could stay in here for. It depended on what you learned. You couldn't stay here for as long as you wanted. Some people come out in a few years, some come out in a few decades. Some can even stay for 100 years. It said that the limit was 100 years, but rarely do people stay for that long. The 5th level disappeared and the stairs appeared. Emo knew it was good to stay here, but his time was limited. He could only say, "I've learned a sliver of space law. Please take me to level 6. A light swept over him and Emo landed on the 6th level. Emo rejoiced that he knew a sliver of space law or he wouldn't even be able to come up here. Emo just looked up and saw the words Samsara Dao and he felt a wave of dizziness. Clear pictures flashed before Emo: merchants, soldiers, generals, emperors, workers, farmers. Countless faces, countless lives flashing before him. It was as though he saw different versions of himself. He saw himself born in Beijing and being ambushed, sitting in Ninghai Uni classroom. So that previous Yemo was just a reincarnation of mine. I was still myself but reborn into another reincarnation. Suddenly another scene flashed before Yemo. In an extremely beautiful garden, a messy-haired woman carried a youth. She cried while kneeling before a middle-aged man with an emperor's crest. There were more than 10 youths before this middle-aged man and tens of extremely beautiful women. The woman was crying and trying to hold the leg of the emperor. The emperor frowned and sneered. What's the point of keeping such trash? He's not needed. Feng Emperor Master, please keep Yao air. Before that woman finished, the emperor kicked and that woman and youth rolled down the stairs. Find a cultivation realm with little spirit chi and dump them there. Whether or not he can reincarnate depends on his luck, that emperor said and turned to leave. Feng Emperor. That woman cried like a weeping bird, but that emperor continued to leave. 2 bulky men charged at the youth and took him away, leaving behind the crying woman. Yemo suddenly woke up, but found he was covered in tears. Only the words Samsara Dao appeared before him. Was that youth one of his reincarnatinos? Was that spirit chi arid cultivation realm East Black State? Who was that Feng Emperor? Why did he abandon him? Who was that woman? Why did she protect him like that? Where was that extremely beautiful garden? An entire day passed, but Yemo found that he didn't move at all. Yemo took a step forward and seemed to have understood something. He felt that youth was one of his reincarnations and that weeping woman was his kin. Yemo clenched his fist. Before reincarnation he was abandoned. After reincarnation he was still abandoned. From the beginning of his 8-element spirit root cultivation, he was still being abandoned. Heaven Dao was abandoning too. It seemed that every divine damnation was set to ambush and kill him. Without the golden page world, if he didn't know formation, if he didn't have the 3 birth chant, if he didn't succeed in body refinement, without these, he would have been abandoned again. That divine damnation would have turned him into dust. But this time, with great fortune and perseverance, he controlled his own fate. At least up until now, the Heaven Dao and divine damnation wasn't able to do anything to him. Looking at the Samsara Dao after a long while, Yemo raised his hand and said slowly, from now on, no one dares to send me into samsara. From now on, I, Yemo, will exist as long as the heavens and earth. I will never go into samsara. Then, he waved with his palm and a golden light struck out. The words echoed in the 6th level, never ending. From today on, he would control his own fate. No one can abandon him, no one has the right to abandon him. He had the golden page world, 3 birth chant, bitter bamboo. He didn't believe he couldn't be eternity. Rumble. As Yemo made his oath, the immortal essence in his body rumbled like the waters in a river. Yemo just stood there. His immortal essence grew strong without him needing to cultivate, from abstruse immortal tertiary stage to peak stage. His sea of consciousness seemed to have materialized and condensed as though supporting his oath. Waves of golden immortal essence circulated around his body as though refining his body. 1 day, 2 days, a month had passed and Yemo punched again. The void shivered as though the entire level 6 was shaking. Yemo knew it was time to go to level 7. From now on, I won't enter samsara. No need to seek samsara Dao. Please go to level 7. Yemo said. Won't enter samsara. Won't use samsara Dao. Please leave samsara Dao. A voice sounded in the void. Yemo immediately realized that this meant to send him out of the Dao-seeking tower. Yemo was certain there would be Immortal King's men watching. As soon as he left, how could he even live? There was a wave of dizziness. Yemo was shook and quickly threw away the strand of hair, soon ran goddess-marked and then went invisible. He was planning to use this strand to teach her a lesson, but now that he was going to be teleported out, he didn't dare to keep such disaster. At the same time, he understood what Dao-seeking was. There was 2 meanings. First, when you're in a level, you must understand a sliver of the Dao meaning of that level. When you did, then the Dao of this level would become another meaning. That would be the real Dao path. You could use this Dao path to enter into the next Dao seeking place. When he was at level 6 the Samsara Dao, he said he won't enter Samsara Dao. Clearly he couldn't use the Samsara Dao to reach level 7. Even though he realized his own Samsara, he still couldn't. If he wanted OT come to Dao Seeking Tower level 7, he could only wait till next time, or he might just appear at level 7 straight away. If he didn't use Samsara Dao to enter level 7, clearly he would be teleported out of the tower. When Yemo felt he landed in the Dao Seeking Square, without hesitation he used a few instant transmissions. It happened all within a second. After 5 instant transmissions, Yemo stealthed himself and didn't move. When he left the Dao Seeking Tower, there would be Space Nad Immortal Essence Wave. He had stealth cultivation method, but he wasn't certain if people would pick up on the waves. It had been a few years after the Dao Seeking tournament, but the people at the square still hadn't left. They were still feeling that Dao wave. Brother Pong, did you feel a sliver of space ripple in the square? A great eternity immortal asked another great eternity immortal. Brother Pong frowned and said, Brother Fong Yi, I felt it, but when I scanned with spirit sense I saw nothing. The two glanced at each other and looked serious. They said almost at the same time, let's have a look. After leaving the Dao Seeking Square, Yemo felt no spirit sense scan nearby him. He didn't dare to stay and kept using instant transmission. He was only a few hundred km from the Dao Seeking Tower. He didn't dare to overtly use mobility magic nor blue moon. Both would release too much space ripple and people would notice it. Only instant transmission had the smallest ripple in space. Unless someone's spirit sense was scanning at where he used instant transmission or knew he was using instant transmission, then he wouldn't be found. After using instant transmission more than 10 times, Yemo was exhausted. If he continued like this, he didn't need to Great Eternity Immortal to kill him. Even an Hollow Immortal would be able to kill him. So when he was nearly 2000 km from the Dao Seeking Square, he was prepared to use mobility magic. Yemo was planning to escape the city and then get on Blue Moon and fly as far away as possible. However, before he used mobility, he immediately felt a terrifying sense of danger. Yemo instantly made the decision to hit his power at Golden Immortal Middle Stage and walk into a nearby merchant tower. He didn't dare to go into the Golden Page world. As soon as he did, he felt a powerful spirit sense scan past where he was. Yemo was worried. He was in the merchant tower, but he didn't have any mask on nor a way to change his face. He shone brightly in the Dao Seeking tournament. Most of the people in the city knew his face. Brother Pong. Fong Yi was interrupted before he finished. Brother Fong Yi, it's been a few years since the tower opened. In less than 2 months we will be exchanging shifts. We need to watch the square carefully to prevent any accidents. Brother Peng immediately understood and smiled. You're right, we need to watch it carefully. They felt the immortal essence wave. They thought it was probably someone who left the tower. But if they couldn't find this person and then Immortal King blamed them, it wouldn't be good. They really had no clue, so they might as well pretend nothing happened. They would be exchanging shifts 2 months later anyways. Plus, their main purpose was to watch Yemo. Yemo was a mere abstruse immortal middle stage. There was no way they wouldn't be able to know he left Dao Seeking Tower. The pill prices here are rising too quickly. Let's go to Fengwei Immortal City. It's said that both pills and artifact prices there are cheap. 2 abstruse immortals walked around and said. Yemo heard this and thought he could use the teleportation formation to leave. Yemo left the merchant tower quickly and came to the teleportation formation. He had this extreme feeling of danger, as though the longer he stayed here the more danger there was. He couldn't leave through the city gates, so he would use the teleportation formation to go out. There were many teleportation formations in the city. As long as it wasn't the Heaven Domain teleportation formation, it wouldn't be checked. No one would check a mere golden immortal, and he easily teleported to Fengwei Immortal City. Yemo didn't even go out and teleported to Zailing Immortal City. After leaving Nuai Immortal City for less than 5 minutes, an extremely powerful spirit sense searched the city inch by inch. The city fell silent immediately. Anyone could feel the anger of that spirit sense. Such powerful spirit sense was clearly Immortal King's spirit sense, but this Immortal King wasn't Immortal King. It was Chong Xin Immortal King. He was Immortal King Peak Stage and one of the top Immortal King of Yuanlu Heaven. He's also the master of Guan Feijian. The reason he took a Heaven Immortal disciple was purely due to Guan Feijian's potential. Plus, Guan Feijian gave him the jade slip for How Heaven Finger. He really liked this disciple and felt Guan Feijian's future would be no lower than him. He thought that, on the mere Dao Seeking tournament, no one would be able to threaten Guan Feijian, so he didn't care about it at all. What he didn't expect was that, when he came to the city, he got news of his disciple dying. He was killed on stage by his opponent. He didn't believe it at all at first, but when he heard it was an abstruse immortal middle stage knowing a sliver of space law, he believed it. However, that Mo-ing had went into the Dao Seeking Tower and there was nothing he could do. Just like he set up someone to watch for him. It was a great eternity immortal too. He was more desperate to kill Mo than as Mo took all of Guan Feijian's belongings. Other things were fine, but that How Heaven drum concerned How Heaven Grand Emperor's heritage. Guan Feijian only got a small part of How Heaven Emperor's heritage. He didn't get the real How Heaven drum. He studied what Guan Feijian got and didn't find anything useful, so he left Yuanlu Heaven to find the heritage. When he found the place where Guan Feijian got the heritage, he found that replica drum was very suspicious. He wanted to study it, but then he found out his disciple was killed and the drum was taken away. Regardless, he had to find that Mo-ing. When Mo came out of the Dao Seeking Tower, Xianxia Immortal King's Great Eternity Immortal also noticed the space wave, but he didn't find out who came out of the tower. Unlike He's two Great Eternity Immortal, he immediately notified him. What annoyed him was that when the news came, he was concocting an important cauldron of pills and didn't check it in time. This news was very important for him as he used his spirit sense to search the entire city as soon as he could. He wouldn't believe that it wasn't Mo. From his perspective, Mo could kill Guan Feijian. His means weren't ordinary. Plus, Mo knew a sliver of space law. It wasn't impossible to escape from the surveillance of Great Eternity Immortal like that. More importantly, no one but Mo needed to run. It was because of this that Xianxia Immortal King was certain the person who escaped was Mo-ing. Mo had gone, so he found nothing. His spirit sense startled the other Immortal Kings, but he couldn't care. 15 minutes later, Xianxia Immortal King got the news that Mo left from teleportation formation and his face was green. He didn't notify Immortal King, he just started tracking the teleportation formation and even planned to stop all the teleportation formation in Yuanlu Heaven. Zaylin Immortal City was a small immortal city. When Mo came out of that city, he didn't keep using teleportation formation. He didn't know if he was being tracked, but he had experience in running. Even on Earth, escaping through public roads was the stupidest idea. An Immortal King would definitely be able to know all the situation about the teleportation formation in his heaven domain quickly. Mo didn't know it wasn't but Xianxia Immortal King hunting him. However, his carefulness saved his life again. He left the teleportation formation, which meant he left the control of Xianxia Immortal King. Otherwise, no matter how many times he teleport, he would eventually fall into Xianxia Immortal King's hands. Mo left the city also because he wanted to break through to Great Immortal. Even though he could kill Great Unity Immortal, but what if there was a Great Eternity Immortal? He satisfied all the requirements to break through to Great Unity Immortal. The earlier he reached that state, the better. After leaving the city, Mo released Blue Moon and in a short while disappeared from the range of the city. No matter how powerful Xianxia Immortal King was, he wasn't able to monitor all the immortals leaving a city everywhere in the heaven domain. Mo mixed himself amongst the immortals and left the city. No one even noticed. Half a month later, Mo appeared in a desert. This was called West Barren Sand. Mo found this place from a jade slip in Guan Feijian's storage ring. Mo got large amounts of rare materials from Guan Feijian and Xianxia's storage ring. Especially Guan Feijian, he had large amounts of pills and immortal spirit herb as well as a crystal card with 100 million immortal crystals. It had an internal storage space. Could store up to billions of immortal crystals inside. Usually, only extremely wealthy immortals would use it. Ordinary immortals only needed to keep their immortal crystals in their storage ring. After organizing the things, Mo studied the Yuanlu Heaven map. The West Barren Sands were rather immortal spirit chi arid in Yuanlu heaven. Only low-level immortals would trial here. This region had an area of tens of millions of square kilometers. It was like a palm-sized place for the immortal realm, but it was the best place for divine damnation to Yemo. Yemo didn't touch the immortal crystals card but took out the remaining 100 million immortal crystals and set up a huge spirit-gathering immortal formation. Yemo knew the immortal spirit chi he needed to break through to great unity immortal wasn't little. He didn't dare to have his divine damnation without enough immortal spirit chi. Reaching great immortal was a milestone. Solo cultivator and sex all took great immortal divine damnation seriously. People would be protecting the person who broke through. If he lacked immortal spirit chi, people would supply it, but Yemo didn't have such benefits. After eating a special grade Great Unity Immortal pill, Yemo used the 3-birth chant at full power, devouring immortal spirit chi. The immortal spirit chi nearby slowly gathered to Yemo. More and more immortal spirit chi came as Yemo used the 3-birth chant. Even in the desert, a terrifying amount of immortal spirit chi was drawn over from everywhere within a 10,000 km radius. A day later, a huge immortal spirit chi whirlpool formed above Yemo's head. The immortal crystals around him turned to mist, and the immortal spirit chi that seeped out completely enveloped Yemo's body. The sky in the desert started to grow dark. There was a rumbling sound nearby as though lightning would fall at any moment. He was ambushed by the divine damnation when he reached abstruse immortal. If he didn't have immortal nirvana body, he would have been dead, so Yemo didn't dare to be careless at all. Crackle. A terrifying lightning exploded in the sky, shocking Yemo's essence spirit. Rumble, rumble, rumble. 3 lightning arcs fell. There was shock in Yemo's eyes. He had gone through divine damnation many times. He was ravaged by lightning and he ravaged lightning too. Even so, he had never seen divine damnation this terrifying. It was just 3 bolts, but each one were bucket-sized thick. It was as though the lightning was trying to strike his soul into hell. Just what divine damnation was this? The lightning arcs were already above his head. Even if his octagonal cauldron was fine, it wouldn't be able to stop such lightning. This divine damnation was trying to kill him again. Yemo's eyes went red. While he released World Rock, he threw out countless lightning swords. They only focused one lightning arc while he punched towards the last arc. Even the divine damnation can't take his life. Crack. The sounds were endless. Yemo had plenty of lightning swords, but it couldn't stop that single lightning arc. Rumble. The World Rock smashed into one arc and lightning splashed in a rain of sparkles. But Yemo didn't have the mood to admire the scene. His fist struck one arc too. Thud. This punch wasn't a casual punch, it was void. His fist hadn't even clashed with the arc yet, and the punch brought together the airflow and immortal essence together and crashed into the arc. The arc slowed a little and then clashed with Yemo's fist instantly. The huge fist pierced the arc but couldn't stop its terrifying destructive power. Countless lightning struck Yemo's body. The lightning that lightning swords couldn't stop struck Yemo at the same time. Yemo felt a terrifying destructive lightning pillar strike his chest and he spat a mouthful of blood. The greatly weakened lightning arc struck into the sand and the scattered lightning light swept the sands and stones nearby into a whirlpool. In the whirlpool, Yemo devoured lightning source like crazy while rejoicing he chose the desert for divine damnation. The endless lightning power was rapidly devoured by him and converted by the 3-birth chant all into immortal essence that nourished his body and improved his power. The fist that only had bones left rapidly regenerated. Soon, Yemo's fist had recovered. Yemo was very calm. He knew this divine damnation was trying to kill him. If he didn't learn his new god art, he wouldn't have survived this no matter what. Rumble. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, 6 more equally powerful lightning arcs fell. Yemo was very calm. He wasn't angry anymore. He knew that this divine damnation wanted to kill him and getting angry was pointless. The only opportunity was to use this divine damnation to improve his power. When his power allowed him to ignore any opponent, he would take out his fury today. The 6 bolts were enough to kill him, but Yemo knew that as long as he passed these 6, then no matter how many more came he didn't fear. He believed these 6 bolts were enough for him to reach great immortal. His lightning sword didn't have a god art, not because he didn't want to create one, but he wasn't able to. Emo released that top-grade immortal artifact sword and tens of immortal artifact shields. He released all that he could release other than Zisu. He didn't want Zisu to be damaged by this terrifying divine damnation. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Crack, crack. The divine damnation was crazy, and so was Emo. No matter how powerful the world rock was, it could only stop one lightning arc. The top-grade immortal artifact sword blocked one, but it was smashed to pieces. Even though his lightning sword increased in power after devouring some lightning from before, there was still some difference in power. What it couldn't stop would fall on him. The tens of shields were like paper and only stopped the divine damnation for a moment. One thick lightning arc that wasn't weakened at all struck Emo's chest. The arc that Emo punched tore his clothes apart. His entire arm was stripped of flesh. This was his first time getting injured this seriously since reaching immortal nirvana body. Thud. Emo's chest spilt blood. His ribs were broken. Even the body protection immortal essence of the immortal nirvana body wasn't able to stop such a thick lightning bolt. A 3 kilometers deep ditch appeared where Emo had his divine damnation. The divine damnation was like a terrifying plow that ravaged this desert and flipped it around. Splurge. Emo spat many mouthful of bloods but still stood there devouring lightning source. He wasn't sure if there would be more like this, but if 6 or even 3 more came now, he would die. The immortal nirvana body protected his body. Otherwise, his body would have turned into a bloody mist. When the sky became dark again, deep groans sounded in the heavens as though something was being prepared. Emo was certain no one's divine damnation was this fast. There was almost no pause between the first and second wave. In the blink of an eye, the third wave was about to come. Emo knew that the next wave would be more terrifying, but he was very calm as he devoured lightning source. He knew that if he didn't improve his power, he would have no chance of surviving the next wave. Large sums of lightning source was being devoured. So was the immortal spirit chi around him. Together, they rapidly changed into immortal essence. As peak stage, Emo's power had reached a borderline now. Rumble. All the immortal essence in Emo's body seemed to have found a breakthrough point. The filled body became empty once again. Countless immortal spirit chi and lightning source were devoured by him like crazy. Emo felt the terrifying power of his body. He believed that no matter how many immortal spirit chi and lightning power came now, he would be able to devour it. This was because he had reached great unity immortal. At the same time, his devouring speed increased by many folds while the injuries on his body recovered rapidly. In a few seconds, his bony arm completely healed. Even the broken ribs healed. The power of the immortal nirvana body was evident. Crack, crack, crack. 9 more bolts crackled. 9 bucket-sized lightning bolts fell. Emo didn't use any means this time. He just punched disperse. The lightning still struck him. Thud, thud, thud. The lightning struck Emo again, but it could only break his skin. It wasn't able to hurt his flesh nor bones. Emo's power rose like crazy. Great Unity Immortal Primary Stage. Great Unity Immortal Primary Stage Peak. The immortal essence in his body was like the ravaging waves of the sea, restless and endless. His meridians were sturdier and wider. A light crack sounded. Emo knew he reached Great Unity Immortal Middle Stage. Other people would take countless years to reach this, but he reached it with one divine damnation. Emo sighed, he probably wouldn't have any more lightning. He desired more lightning arcs to come down, but he knew that once he was benefiting from the divine damnation, it would disappear. It wouldn't even have the rainbow spirit clouds. Indeed, as soon as Emo devoured the 9 bolts, the sky grew clear again. There was no rainbow spirit cloud reward. Emo was certain that the reason the first wave was 3 bolts instead of 9 wasn't because the divine damnation didn't want to kill him, but there must be some law preventing it from doing so. Otherwise, it would be 9 bolts in the first wave for sure. Even without the immortal spirit chi rainbow cloud, Emo recovered rapidly. In just half a minute, his body was without marks, just a sleek and perfect body. Emo didn't open his eyes now. He was still devouring the immortal spirit chi nearby. He still needed to consolidate his power. After a while, Emo raised his hand and a rumble sounded out of nowhere. A lightning bolt half the width of a bucket was released. It was like a thick spear and landed a few km away in the desert. Rumble. The lightning spear pierced into the desert, creating a sandstorm. Emo smiled. He didn't learn a lightning god art in the Tao-seeking tower, but after that terrifying divine damnation, he did. This god art would be called lightning sand. It had nothing to do with sand, it was just like a spear, but because Emo created in the desert, he called it lightning sand. Emo looked up. He believed that one day he would charge above the 33 heavens, and no matter who was attacking him like this, he wasn't going to let him have it. He cleansed himself before changing into a new set of clothes. Then Emo flew out of the ditch. Nearly 100 million immortal crystals had disappeared. Emo packed away the formation flags and looked back at the big ditch. He waved his hand and the sand outside were blown into the ditch, instantly filling it up. A day later, there was not a single mark anymore. Emo didn't leave the desert, he found another place to go underground. In the Golden Page world, Emo took out the cracked octagonal cauldron. He felt even though he was immortal nirvana body, he would need a defensive magic artifact. The octagonal cauldron was cracked. Emo's spirit sense searched it carefully and realized why he could only control 5 levels of restrictions. This octagonal cauldron only had 5 levels of restriction. The cauldron was called Octagonal Jia Cauldron. It was only a replica. Even a replica was this powerful, one could imagine how powerful the real octagonal cauldron would be. Emo sighed. Even if he had the materials, he wouldn't be able to forge something this powerful. Emo suddenly thought of Guan Feijian's drum. That drum was this powerful, but it was cracked by the world rock. Probably wasn't the original too. Moments later, Emo took out that drum. The crack was still there. Emo scanned his spirit sense in. The inside seemed to be a little different. If the drum was fine, Emo might spirit control it because its sound attacks were too powerful, but it was damaged now. Emo knew he wasn't able to repair it, so he just pulled off the 2 faces of the drum. A black jade slip was inside. Emo casually took it and found it was made of bamboo. The black bamboo was countless times harder than ordinary jade slip. Emo was certain this black bamboo was a good forgery material. Emo scanned his spirit sense in. The words were clear. The person who gets my How Heaven heritage must kill Dragon River Grand Emperor, Blood Cauldron Grand Emperor, Feng Kong Grand Emperor for me. If you can't do it, your heart demon will burn you to death. Emo sneered. He couldn't even be bothered to keep reading. He let out Mist Lotus Heartfire and turned the jade slip into dust. No matter who that How Heaven was, nor how powerful his heritage was, he's dreaming to make him swear. Even though he wasn't affected by Heart Demon, Emo didn't want to make such an oath. Without question, those 3 Grand Emperors were very tricky people. Emo didn't think he would be able to kill those 3 by getting How Heaven's heritage. Plus, he didn't even know the 3, why should he kill them? Crack. When the jade slip cracked, a light orb flew out of the jade slip. Emo was shocked and wanted to burn everything with fire when the orb made a sound, ha 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 ha. Great, great, since you won't accept you destroy it. Very decisive. I like young people like you. Who are you? Emo stared at the ball and asked coldly. He wasn't worried. This was his Golden Page world. It was his domain. He wasn't going to be scared of an essence spirit that didn't have any offensive capabilities. Such dense chaos chi. Wait, you actually have Chaos World and the Bitter Bamboo. You? Who are you? The voice asked, forgetting why it came out. Emo sneered, you have 3 seconds. If you don't answer, then die. Wait! The voice woke up. He knew it wasn't time for him to be asking questions. I'm How Heaven, one of the 4 Grand Emperors of the 11 Grand Heaven domains. This orb just has a sliver of my essence spirit on it. It has no threat to you. The jade slip is my heritage. You crushed the jade slip, meaning that you don't a hypocrite. I have something to ask, the voice quickly said. Emo nodded. He knew this guy was right. The light orb was indeed just a sliver of essence spirit and had no threat to him. The light orb would soon self-destruct. Sorry, I won't make any oath. I wanted to let you go, but you know about my Golden Page world. Unlucky you, Emo said calmly. Even if this thing didn't know about his Golden Page world, he wasn't going to let it go. The light orb smiled. Even if you let me out, I would dissipate soon. But don't worry. Originally you can only get my heritage if you made the oath, but you have Chaos World and one of the 10 great spirit items. I'm certain your future will be unlimited. I won't need you to swear, and I'm willing to give my heritage to you. I just ask you to do one thing for me. Emo said calmly, how heaven. Perhaps you think your heritage is great, but unfortunately, I'm not interested in your heritage. And I know my capabilities are limited. I'm not able to kill some Grand Emperor for you. I'm not asking you to kill Grand Emperor. I'm one of them. Grand Emperors are powerful, but that's just within the 33 heavens. Outside the 33 heavens, there are Tao Vindication Divine Emperors. A mere Grand Emperor is nothing. The voice sounded dejected. Oh, Emo was interested now. He knew of the Tao Vindication seed and knew that after Immortal Emperor, it was Tao Vindication. He also knew that above the 33 heavens, there existed powerful beings, but he didn't know just how powerful they were. Tell me about those Tao Vindication Divine Emperors. Who are they? I heard that Tao Vindication Divine Emperor need primordial chaos seeds, and because the heaven and earth are incomplete, one escape. One of the 10 primordial chaos seeds are gone, so there can only be 9 Divine Emperor in the universe, right? Emo asked. How heaven sighed, your meaning is right, but the words are wrong. I'm not a Divine Emperor and I can't guess the state of Divine Emperor, but I know there's less than 5 Tao Vindication Divine Emperor in the world. The primordial chaos seed can indeed allow Tao Vindication, but I'm guessing not a single one used it. There's not 10 seeds, there's only one. The seed appeared with the universe and disappeared. The 9 other are bullshit. The primordial world is unique. How can there be 10? Emo was speechless. That Peng Gondang tricked him and spoke as if he believed it was real. Was he really that good at acting? Or did he not know as well? Emo shook his head, and just when he wanted to ask about Tao Vindication Divine Emperor, he suddenly thought of another thing. He waved his hand and the barrier formation was opened up. He pointed at the small sapling he got from the Cultivation realm and asked, How heaven Grand Emperor? Help me see what this is? This? The figure shaked so much that it was almost about to collapse. Emo quickly used a few spells and stopped the orb from dispersing. You actually have Chaos Tree. How heaven's essence spirit was completely agitated. What is Chaos Tree? Emo was a little excited too. Hoof! How heaven let out a long breath and spun around Emo as though bowing. Then it said to Emo, you have Chaos World. One of the 10 great spirit items, bitter bamboo and the Chaos Tree. You're someone of great fortune. In the future. The light orb didn't say what Emo's future would be. Emo coughed and said, What is the Chaos Tree? You still haven't told me. How heaven's voice grew serious, it could even be considered respect. He said word by word, Chaos Tree is also called Universe Tree or Tree of Life. Because it grew from a primordial chaos seed. What? Emo got up in shock, and after a while he said in disbelief, You're saying I got the only primordial chaos seed in the universe? Rats indeed so, but your Chaos Tree isn't yours yet, as it hasn't considered you as master yet. If you expose any bit, you will die. No one can resist not robbing this from you, not me as well. How heaven sighed. How could he not know this? How to make it recognize me as master? Emo asked. You can't make it, it automatically will. After it recognizes a master, it will protect the essence spirit of its master for eternity. There may be a way to force this, but I don't know. How heaven's essence spirit answered. Emo was speechless. If he didn't rob the tree, how would Lu Jingxuan make it recognize him as the master? You're a person of great fortune. Since you can get the Chaos Tree, you must be approved by it. Being its master is of no rush. Plus, your Chaos World is incomplete. How heaven comforted. Emo smiled, thanks for answering these questions, but you don't need to ask me to help you kill a few Grand Emperors. I'm only a small great unity immortal. I don't have that courage. How heaven quickly said, I know your future won't be ordinary. I just want you to help me with something that has nothing to do with the other 3 Grand Emperors. Tell me. Emo nodded. If he could, he wouldn't mind helping. I have a grandson called Xianxia. I want you to bring my heritage to him. Of course, if you can't find him, then never mind. How heaven said. Emo thought for a moment and said, I can help you with this, but I won't spend time searching for him. I have too many things to do myself. I can only promise that if I see him, I will give it to him. Of course, if you see him, then do it. If not, then after you become a Grand Emperor, just send a news and Xianxia will come for you. How Heaven said. Emo knew that Grand Emperor was at least Immortal Emperor peak and had enough people to respect him to give him this title. But he didn't think of becoming a Grand Emperor. They were usually a Heaven Domain Lord or an Overlord of a region. I was originally Yuan Dong Heaven Domain Lord. There's only me, Dragon River, Feng Kong, and Blood Cauldron who are Grand Emperors. I was ambushed by them for something. A sliver of my essence spirit escaped, but it's not enough to turn the tides. Even my magic artifact has been detonated, but How Heaven Drum is still there. Along with it is a few top-grade immortal range and an extreme-grade immortal range. What? You have a few immortal range? Emo asked. He really didn't care about Summit Heritage, but he couldn't not care about immortal range. This was a necessity for cultivation. To him, if he didn't have immortal range, he couldn't even progress. Using immortal crystals for cultivation was too much of a waste unless he had extreme-grade immortal crystals. Seeing this, How Heaven was happy too and felt a little helpless. Anyone would be overjoyed of getting a Grand Emperor heritage, but Emo the strange person crushed it without even looking at it. If he wasn't prepared, his heritage would be over. He was furious when Emo did that, but after seeing Emo's wealth, he realized that compared to this small great unity immortal, he was a beggar. In reality, those immortal range were the least valuable in How Heaven's eyes, but it was these things that interested Emo. If he knew this earlier, he would have collected more immortal range and then tricked this kid to be his disciple. Indeed, I have a few top-grade immortal range and one extreme-grade immortal range, but they can move and I don't know if they are still there after all these years. How Heaven wanted Emo to go as early as possible. Emo nodded. He knew this, but even for immortal range, he wasn't going to place himself under danger. Seeing Emo calm down this quickly, How Heaven sighed. This kid wasn't simple. No wonder he could get all these things. The most precious thing inside is the Emperor Dao Crystal. It has my experience and Dao will for becoming Immortal Emperor. If an Immortal Monarch can get it, there's 60% chance he can become Immortal Emperor. How Heaven said while watching Emo's facial expression, but he found that Emo was lacking interest. How Heaven was speechless. He was planning to let Emo give it to his grandson, but Emo's disinterest dealt a great blow to his confidence. I know. Let's talk about the location. I'll go have a look when I'm free. Emo nodded. It's on the Will Mountain in Yuandong Heaven. The danger there isn't for ordinary people. When your power is there, you will know. After my essence spirit dissipates, it will turn into a will bead. You can take it and find the heritage ground. I see. Emo lost interest. Yuandong Heaven was Grand Heaven Domain. He was still in Middle Heaven Domain. When his power was high, he would go down to find Lu Zhengquan, who knows when he would be able to go. One thing. Do you know Qingwei Heaven Wei Feng Immortal Emperor? Emo asked. He was thinking about how he was ambushed at the Chaos Star Realm. Wei Feng Immortal Emperor stole Wushuang Immortal Emperor's woman and them ambushed him. Wushuang Immortal Emperor escaped into the Chaos Star Realm and disappeared. I've heard of this person. He's a Wan Bei. How Heaven nodded. Wan Bei? He's the Heaven Lord of Qingwei Heaven now. Emo said. How Heaven sighed. He's actually Qingwei Heaven Lord? Where did that Hong Yu Immortal Emperor go? How would I know? Emo asked. How Heaven fell into a long silence. When you become Immortal Emperor, you need to be careful of Feng Kong Grand Emperor. He acts as the weakest amongst the 4 Grand Emperors, but he's actually the most sinister of them all and the strongest. If you fight with this person, don't talk much with him, just kill him. If you're no match for him, run as far away as you can. Don't play tactics with him. Feng Kong Grand Emperor? Emo frowned and felt this name was familiar. I have nothing to stay for. I'm about to leave. One last word for you, even if you're Immortal Emperor peak, don't expose Chaos World nor the Chaos Tree because the power of Divine Emperor isn't something an Immortal Emperor can even imagine. With this, How Heaven's essence spirit faded and disappeared. A Longan-sized pearl fell into Yemo's hands. Emo suddenly realized and remembered Feng Kong Grand Emperor. It was what the woman called the middle-aged man in the Tao-seeking tower Samsara Tao. Seeing this bead, Yemo just remembered he still had a lot to ask this guy. What was above Tao-seeking tower level 7? Where did the Tao Vindication Divine Emperor stay at? Yemo shook his head and put away the bead and the drum while taking out Time Formation Disc. He set it on the Refine Immortal Pong and then took out another 100 million Immortal crystals. He was going into solitary cultivation. He knew now was the best time to quickly improve his power. How heaven was right, if he exposed any of this he would be dead. If he wanted to live, there was nothing but cultivation he could do. He still had 6 Du Luo Heaven Fruit, but Yemo knew he just reached Great Unity Immortal Middle Stage. He needed to stabilize his power and then use the fruit. The Time Formation Disc ran like crazy and top-grade Immortal crystals disappeared one by one on the disc. Feng Gang Immortal City. This was the biggest city in Hangyu Heaven, but it wasn't very famous. Today, the city was surrounded by rainbow clouds and immortal music. Countless immortal beasts flew around. Today was the day to celebrate the day of Lu Zhengquan Heaven Lord reaching status immortal. Lu Zhengquan reached Immortal King half a year again. Because he did things with justice and transparency, he was titled Gentleman Immortal King. In a secret room in the city lord estate of Tiangang Immortal City, a short-bearded white-faced man stood with his hands behind his back. A great Unity Immortal stood next to him. After a while, he asked, "How many did you find?" The great Unity Immortal replied, 2. One of them won, another is called Yu Zizhen. She's very powerful. She killed a hollow Immortal Peak Stage with hollow Immortal Middle Stage power and fled out of Hangyu Heaven. There's still no news of him. Humph. The middle-aged man said nothing. Hearing this, the great Unity Immortal shivered and quickly said, "But I've brought over that one. Bring him in." The middle-aged man said, "Yes." The great Unity Immortal answered and immediately left. Soon he brought in a hollow Immortal. One greet master. The hollow Immortal knelt down straight away and didn't even dare to look up. The middle-aged man said amicably, "No need to be like this. Sit up. I'm from Luo Yu continent too. It's been countless years, but now I finally see immortals from Luo Yu continent. I feel very happy. You can cultivate safely in Tiangang Immortal City." "Thank you, master," one said in excitement. "MHM." The middle-aged man asked, "Which sect do you come from?" "I came from Ice God Palace." "Oh. Then do you know Luo Yu Continent Demon Realm?" "I heard of it, but it's not a place ordinary people can go in." However what?" The disappointed man immediately lit up. One quickly said, "I heard that Nanchan Heaven's demonic prison Forbidden Grounds opened up. I heard it's related to Demon Realm, but I don't know if it is really so." "Very well, I've been there too. Tell me about the situation there." "Who went in?" the middle-aged man asked. One said respectfully, "I was going to go there, but as soon as I got to South Peace State, I felt the divine damnation. I really longed to come to the immortal realm, so I ascended." One ascended when Lang Ying was asking for help. He didn't dare to speak of the real situation. If it wasn't that this man could easily find out he came from Ice God Palace, he wouldn't even dare to say it. The middle-aged man's face sunk. This one knew nothing. Little did he knew that almost anyone from South Peace State knew about Yemo, but one didn't, as he was always in solitary cultivation. The great Unity Immortal came in and bowed. Master Zhiji came." The middle-aged man got up and said, "Invite him in." Then he said to one, "You can go. If there's any news from Luo Yu Continent, report to me. If you encounter Luo Yu Continent cultivators, you must invite them here immediately." "Yes." One left with the great Unity Immortal uncomfortably. After the two left, the middle-aged man clenched his fist. "No matter who you are, I, Lu Zhengquan, will suck your soul and refine your blood for touching what is mine." If Lu Zhengquan still had some concern about searching for Luo Yu Continent cultivators before, now he didn't, as he reached Immortal King. Moments later, a long-haired skinny man walked in. When he saw Lu Zhengquan, he quickly bowed. "Zhiji, greet Immortal King Master." "Haha. Master Zhiji, please have a seat, we're good friends, no need to be like this." Regardless if I'm immortal king, you're my friend. Lu Zhengxuan laughed. Gigi smiled and sat down. He said, the person with karma between City Lord is no longer in the lower heaven domain. If I'm not wrong, he's gone to the middle heaven domain. Can you specifically point out which heaven domain he is in? Lu Zhengxuan asked desperately. Gigi Master shook his head. I can only calculate that he left from Gonghua heaven. You can probably find the recent immortal ships that went to middle heaven domain from Gonghua heaven. Okay. Lu Zhengxuan. Yuanlu Heaven West Barren Lands. This was the second year after Yemo had divine damnation. Only a few low-level immortals came occasionally. Underground, Yemo still used the time formation disk to devour the refined immortal well. He had devoured so much immortal spirit chi that the pond water was nearing the bottom. He had devoured more than half of the 100 million immortal crystals. At this moment, his power was infinitely close to Great Unity Immortal Tertiary Stage. The thick immortal essence rustled in Yemo's body, and with the three-birth chant there was a loud rumble. Crack. The powerful immortal essence flowed in his body. Yemo knew he reached Great Unity Immortal Tertiary Stage. The pond water had been used up. Yemo put away the time formation disk and got up from the immortal pond. He gave a Du Luo heaven fruit to Zhen Bingyu. He still had 5. Yemo didn't plan to use them. In fact, Yemo could use the fruit to reach Great Unity Immortal Peak Stage and then break through to Great Extreme Immortal, but Yemo didn't feel this was good. His power had increased fast enough. According to the outside time, he only used less than 2 years and reached from Abstruse Immortal Tertiary Stage to Great Unity Immortal Tertiary Stage. Although he spent far more time in the time formation disk, this was still too fast. The reason he could be this fast was due to large amounts of cultivation resource and the three-birth chant. That blue-robed status immortal said his greatest achievement would be Golden Immortal. Now, he had passed countless Golden Immortals. However, his talent wasn't high, and if he just kept trying to break through without consolidating his power, it might have the opposite effect. Yemo stopped cultivation and started forgery. He took out Zisu. Zisu's grade was too low. If he didn't upgrade it, he wouldn't be able to release the full power of moves like Rainbow. After seeing Guanfeijian's How Heaven Drum, he realized how important magic artifact was to people. If he had a magic artifact that could stop the How Heaven Drum, he wouldn't need Space Law to kill Guanfeijian. He had prepared quite a lot of materials to upgrade Zisu, including level 6 Immortal Material 1000 Blade Sand and level 7 Immortal Material Will Illusion Crystal, Phoenix Gold. The last two were top-grade material amongst level 7. Ordinary people would never use it to upgrade a low-grade immortal artifact. But Yemo was willing. No precious material was as precious as Zisu. As he let out Mist Lotus Heart Fire, all the materials started to melt. Yemo found that luckily his Mist Lotus Heart Fire had reached Purple Nirvana, or it would take forever to melt these materials. 15 minutes later, the materials started to melt. The hardest Phoenix Gold was also melted to liquid and slowly poured onto Zisu. Zisu started to distort. Yemo instantly saw the process of Zisu being upgraded. He closed his eyes. He was captivated by this. Moments later, he couldn't help shooting in forgery spells into Zisu. He didn't even realize he was upgrading Zisu, nor did he realize that Zisu didn't need his help for the first time. Zisu kept on transforming and made crisp sounds, but Yemo didn't notice at all. 3 days later, Zisu suddenly flew up from Yemo's hand and rang in the air before slicing across the air in the golden page world in a purple ray. Instantly, there was a deep mark on the empty ground. Yemo just woke up from that state. He felt he fused what he learned about forgery at the Dao Seeking Tower with Zisu's upgrade process. Seeing the purple long sword hanging above, Yemo realized that Zisu had finished upgrading. Yemo waved his hand and Zisu landed in his hand. There were ripple waves on the handle. The sword showed a royal metallic purple color. It didn't look like a kitchen knife at all anymore. Such a beautiful sword. Yemo couldn't help praising. Zisu seemed to have heard this and vibrated in response. Zisu had reached level 6 peak immortal artifact. It was almost like half a level 7 immortal artifact. Yemo believed if he was a top-grade forgery grandmaster, then Zisu would definitely become a level 7 immortal artifact. After putting away Zisu, Yemo gave up the thought of using Sky Mobility Gold to upgrade Blue Moon. Zissou was only level 6 peak, meaning that his forgery skills lacked a bit. Since he wasn't Immortal Forgery Grand Master, he didn't need to upgrade Blue Moon and waste the material. Blue Moon was equivalent to level 6 Flying Immortal Artifact. If he can't bring it to level 7, it was pointless. This time, Yemo took out Blue Like Morning Sky. Blue Like Morning Sky was faint purple color. With this many 7 refined stones, Yemo could Nirvana Blue Like Morning Sky at any time. But Yemo didn't do this, he just took out a 5-color 7 refined stone and put it near Blue Like Morning Sky. Immediately, it was swept away by the flame. The flame rumbled and went from faint purple to deep purple in a while. Yemo didn't keep feeding more stones to it. He knew that if he did, then Blue Like Morning Sky would Nirvana. 7 refined stones were good, but Blue Like Morning Sky's Nirvana was too important to Yemo. Mist Lotus Heartfire was the ordinary flame Yemo used, but Blue Like Morning Sky was different. It was a trump card. He needed to Nirvana it with the best thing. The best thing was Astral Flame Marrow, but it was worth a fortune, and even Immortal Emperor weren't able to get it easily. But Yemo got that soft tofu stone from the Cultivation Realm's Flame Sea Forbidden Grounds. He didn't even dare to touch it with his spirit sense when he was Truth Realization state. Yemo always suspected that it was Astral Flame Marrow. He tested it with Mist Lotus Heartfire. Perhaps Mist Lotus Heartfire was too low grade, or it wasn't Astral Flame Marrow. Mist Lotus Heartfire couldn't devour the stone. Now, he is great unity immortal power, and Blue Like Morning Sky was time for Nirvana, so he took out that soft ore again. Yemo opened the box made with extreme flame star gold. Before, he spat blood as soon as his spirit sense touched the ore. Now, his power was thousands of times stronger. His spirit sense should be able to go in. As soon as his spirit sense touched the ore, there wasn't the terrifying feeling like before. Yemo relaxed a little and reached deeper. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying flame shot out. Yemo felt his sea of consciousness in pain. It was as though that soft ore had endless flame inside. His spirit sense was swept in before even nearing the center. If this continued, that flame would soon burn his sea of consciousness. Not good. Yemo wanted to take back his spirit sense, but he found that he couldn't. He lost some spirit sense every time he felt pain. Yemo spat another mouthful of blood. Yemo quickly threw the box along with the ore into Blue Like Morning Sky. Rumble. Blue Like Morning Sky bursted into the sky and dashed out of Yemo's palm. It floated in the air and kept jumping around. Beams of blue light shot out of the flame, illuminating the entire golden page world in blue. Yemo's face was pale as he retreated a few hundred meters away. He found Shadowless also staring at the rolling blue in worry. Yemo felt he did something bad and quickly took out formation flags, setting up a few defense formation for Bitter Bamboo and Chaos Tree before hiding at the border of the formation with Shadowless. Blue Like Morning Sky released such power after devouring that possibly Astral Flame Marrow thing. This was too shocking. Drops of golden liquid fell from Blue Like Morning Sky's flame. Yemo's spirit sense captured it. It was the melted extreme flame star gold. It seems Blue Like Morning Sky was very picky. It threw away the metal but tightly surrounded the tofu. The flame rolled bigger and bigger, and Yemo's face went worse. If this terrifying flame neared, his immortal spirit herb garden and Bitter Bamboo would all be destroyed. Yemo tried to contact Blue Like Morning Sky and found in surprise and joy that his spirit sense could contact Blue Like Morning Sky without resistance. This meant that his flame didn't leave his control after devouring the tofu. Yemo told Blue Like Morning Sky to go further. Indeed, Blue Like Morning Sky flew away. The flame jumped with extreme excitement. Clearly that tofu was very important to Blue Like Morning Sky. 7 days later, Blue Like Morning Sky finally stopped jumping and shrunk. It was like a lotus flower that was half open. It floated in the air, and when Yemo waved his hand, Blue Like Morning Sky immediately landed in his palm. There was a faint golden rim around the flower while the center was extreme blue. The flame sent Yemo a joyful will, letting Yemo understand that Blue Like Morning Sky was still his, but it was purple Nirvana level 1 now. Unlike Mist Lotus Heartfire, Blue Like Morning Sky still had some crisp blue color, and Blue Like Morning Sky used 7 days while Mist Lotus Heartfire only used 1 day. It seemed blue like morning sky was much more powerful than mist lotus heart fire. Emo closed his eyes and communicated with blue like morning sky, but blue like morning sky's level was too low. It could only feel that it devoured something good but couldn't tell if it was astral flame marrow or not. Emo could only let this go. Blue like morning sky's nirvana was very important for Emo. If he used blue like morning sky for heaven flame 9 suns, it would be many times stronger than mist lotus heart fire. All he needed to do now was to keep improving his spirit sense and immortal essence power. Emo decided to use blue like morning sky as the main offensive flame while using mist lotus heart fire for pill concoction. Emo threw 10 more 5-colored 7 refined stone into blue like morning sky. Blue like morning sky opened up the flower bud, devouring them. The stones were very important for Emo. He could use it to cultivate heaven flame 9 suns, but blue like morning sky just went through nirvana. Emo loved this flame a lot. When blue like morning sky devoured 25 5-colored, 3 6-colored and 1 7-colored stone, it had upgraded to purple nirvana level 3 flame. 3 faint golden rings formed around the flame. Emo knew that once the purple was completely gone, blue like morning sky would turn back to blue again. At that time, it would become an immortal flame. Then, the fire spirit of the flame would be able to communicate with him. Emo didn't keep wasting 7 refined stones. He knew that even if he gave blue like morning sky all he had, it wouldn't become immortal flame. Emo was very satisfied as he put away blue like morning sky. What he earned at Yuan Le Heaven was unimaginable. It seemed he didn't need to keep staying here. He had used up his resources and now he needed to find more. Now, Emo even wanted to go to Yuandong Heaven and find how Heaven Emperor's immortal ranges. If he could, then he would be able to reach Great Eternity Immortal Peak Stage. After leaving the Golden Page world, he didn't leave the ground immediately. He waved out that stone tablet and 6 floorboards from the Cultivation realm and set up formation. These were set up by Lu Jingxuan in the Demon Prison Forbidden Grounds. There were runes inside. Emo knew Lu Jingxuan wasn't going to let him go, so he placed these things underground. If Lu Jingxuan had the power to find his way here, then congratulations, these things were his. If Lu Jingxuan came here, he would be blasted by his explosion formation. Emo didn't expect it to kill Lu Jingxuan, but it would be enough to infuriate him. As soon as he flew out of the West Barren Sands, Emo saw 2 Great Unity Immortal. When they saw Emo fly out of here, they were a bit suspicious. But then they both showed a surprised look. Emo frowned before he asked. One of them said to the other, Brother Luo, I'll send Brother Lai Shan to meet up here. How about it? The other nodded yes. Tell him to be quick. Otherwise, people will get here first. Then, the Great Unity Immortal sent out a messenger flying sword. The messenger flying sword wasn't ordinary and had a sliver of black ray. Emo felt things weren't right, but he didn't know what was. But after the messenger flying sword was sent out, Emo immediately knew what was wrong. He didn't say anything and chose a direction to run. After a few hundred km, Emo stealthed and used a few instant transmissions while changing his direction. If he had the time, he would kill the 2 Great Unity Immortal without hesitation, but he didn't have time. He knew the 2 wouldn't be able to find the right direction. When the 2 showed a look of surprise when they saw him, clearly they recognized him. Then they quickly sent a message out, they must be asking for help. Even if the 2 had seen him in the Nuai Immortal City, they wouldn't be this shocked. Clearly, it meant that he was wanted and there were paintings of him at other immortal cities. As for their conversation, Emo knew it was bullshit. To Emo, it must be he immortal king to have this special means. The messenger flying sword was special. Perhaps it was given out by he immortal king. If he knew he was in West Barren Sand, then where would he go? If he was blocked by an immortal king in one corner of the heaven domain, even a Great Eternity Immortal wouldn't be able to get away. It was because of this that Emo flew without even killing the 2 Great Unity Immortal. He didn't believe he would be able to evade Immortal King in the Golden Page world. If the Immortal King found the Golden Page world, he would be over. So the only thing he could do now was quickly charge out of Immortal King Spirit Sense range. Then he would have a sliver of hope. Of course, he hoped his judgment was wrong or an Immortal King wasn't coming. He seems to have noticed. Should we chase? One great Unity Immortal looked at where Yemo disappeared and asked. The other great Unity Immortal sneered, chase? How do you compare with Guanfagian? We're great Unity Immortal, but Guanfagian can still kill us. Meanwhile, this guy can kill Guanfagian. Plus, if I'm not wrong, he's a great Unity Immortal too. Doesn't that mean he can easily kill us? Then what you did? Yes, but we were finding friends to find a place. He has no excuse to kill us. Plus, after sending that message, Xianxia Immortal Kingmaster will come quickly. We don't need to chase. We just need to remember the direction he disappeared. What if he changes direction? It's only a possibility, he realized, but if he really did, then he would definitely kill us. So we just need to wait here for Immortal Kingmaster. Wealth is earned in danger. We'd be successful as long as we provide where he is. In less than 2 hours, a black-faced man landed here. The two great Unity Immortal quickly bowed. Greet Shui Chang, Immortal King. The man nodded. You sent out Xianxia Immortal King's messenger flying sword? Did you see Mo-ing? Yes, Immortal King Master. We just passed here and saw Mo-ing come out of the West Barren Sand and then flew east. One great Unity Immortal quickly answered and pointed at where Mo disappeared from. The black-faced Immortal King nodded and left in the direction Mo disappeared. In less than 5 minutes, the Immortal King came back to the two great Unity Immortals. Terrifying killing intent seeped out of his body. The two great Unity Immortal couldn't take that killing force and shivered. They even knelt on the ground saying shakily, Chui Chang, Immortal King Master. Humph! How dare you trick me? With my speed, I didn't catch anything within 5 minutes. This meant that he deigned leave from east. The Immortal King said with dense killing intent. The Immortal King seemed to have caught a space ripple and stepped out. The two great Unity Immortals shivered. They didn't even dare to get up after the Immortal King disappeared. The two glanced at each other, feeling perhaps they shouldn't have done this. Mo didn't even dare to use Blue Moon and just kept using mobility art. Even tens of millions of km was a short while for Immortal King, but he needed to fly for half a day. This concerned his life. He didn't dare to be careless. After another 5 minutes, the black-faced Immortal King stopped. He realized how cunning Mo was now. That space wave was just Mo's trick, a spirit sense mark. This meant that those two great Unity Immortal were probably tricked by Mo. A mere abstruse immortal is this powerful. No wonder Guanfagian would lose to him. Such spirit sense mark, he might even have spirit sense cultivation method. The black-faced Immortal King sneered and changed a direction. Mo fled very far, but he didn't feel safe at all. The same time his spirit sense mark disappeared, Mo stopped and dashed into the earth as quickly as possible and went into the Golden Page world. Mo knew that it was very dangerous to go into the Golden Page world now. It might be captured by Immortal King's spirit sense, but he had no choice. When his spirit sense mark was swept, he knew an Immortal King came. If he kept running, then he would fall into Immortal King's spirit sense after he chased the other directions. Mo could only try to hide the Golden Page world as much as possible. If he was still caught by Immortal King like this, then it was fate. Mo didn't hide for very long and a terrifying spirit sense swept over. It didn't even let go of underground, but it didn't find the Golden Page world. However, the Golden Page world felt that spirit sense. Even in the Golden Page world, Mo held his breath. After that spirit sense scanned over, Mo didn't come out. After another 5 minutes, Mo dashed out of the Golden Page world and released Blue Moon and flew. He was gambling. He didn't know if the Immortal King gave up on this direction, but he had no choice. This is so strange. A mere abstruse immortal really ran outside of my spirit sense range? The Immortal King frowned and sent a few messenger flying swords. His flying sword was different. It could be received if someone was still in Yuan Le Heaven. He didn't believe that an abstruse immortal would be able to escape the hunt of a few Immortal Kings after knowing the approximate location. Mo sped Blue Moon like crazy while recovering immortal essence. Once it was recovered, he would use mobility technique. Once he was tired, he would get back on Blue Moon. Mo knew that he had to escape Yuan Le Heaven as quickly as possible. Although it was a bit difficult to go into the void without Heaven Domain immortal ship, he might even lose his life. He knew that if he didn't go into the void, he would have no chance at all. His tracks were exposed. He couldn't hide in Yuanlu heaven no matter how big it was. He, Immortal King, could lock down all the ways he can escape within a day or even less. If he, Immortal King, locked the path into the heaven domain void, there would be nothing he could do. He burned his essence blood like crazy and used mobility technique like crazy. In less than a day, he saw the Yuanlu heaven domain void. He rejoiced that he chose West Barren Sands to have his divine damnation. It was near the heaven domain void. Seeing the void, Yemo flew in without hesitation. The heaven domain void wasn't the most dangerous to Yemo. The most dangerous was the moment that he entered the void. Even his immortal nirvana body wasn't able to take it. If anyone could go in the void casually, then there would be that much danger. Usually, other than a mortal ship, there were special areas to enter the heaven domain void. Yet, Yemo went into the void at a place that one couldn't enter. He immediately felt the terrifying tearing power of the void fissure. Yemo knew clearly that this tearing force wasn't something he could take. He went into the golden page world without hesitation. He couldn't care, he would go wherever the golden page world was taken to. After Yemo went into the void, Chui Cheng Immortal King locked all the positions to enter into the heaven domain void. He was just 1 hour slower than Yemo. Are the heaven domain void locked? Chang Xian Immortal King asked immediately when he arrived. He knew that, with Yemo's power, he could only run to the void. He knew Yemo would certainly die in the void, but he couldn't allow Yemo to die easily. Yes, I've locked down all exits. If he dares to go into the void, he would know immediately and stop him before he does. Chui Cheng Immortal King answered. Chang Xian Immortal King nodded. Search this place. Even if we flip this place upside down, I'm going to find him. Chang Xian Immortal King brought 10s of Great Eternity Immortal and 6 Immortal King to find Yemo. Even an ant would be found, much less Yemo. Plus, he Immortal King received news and were coming over too. Chang Xian Immortal King wasn't worried about he coming over. He only wanted the replica How Heaven drum. He didn't want anything else. He knew Yemo probably had some secrets, but what secret could compare with How Heaven Grand Emperor's heritage? A few hours later, in the West Barren Sands, there was a huge explosion at where Yemo had solitary cultivation. Chang Xian Immortal King and them came here immediately. What happened? Chang Xian Immortal King immediately asked. The injured Great Unity Immortal said, I found a stone tablet and a few stone boards underground. When I went to take it, it activated an explosion formation. Mo Ing probably set this up. Chang Xian Immortal King frowned. Why did Mo set up explosion formation underground in the desert? Did he have nothing to do? Search that tablet. Chang Xian Immortal King immediately ordered. He would take whatever move Mo left here. Mo meanwhile had spent 6 days in the Golden Page world. Every time he sent out a surveillance formation, it showed that he was still in void chaos flow. Thus, he could only keep staying in the Golden Page world. A month later, Mo left the Golden Page world and stood in the void again. Last time he was here with Jin Bingyu, but now he was by himself. However, at least he escaped the hunt of Immortal King. He didn't know where he was, but he was sure it probably wasn't far from Yuanlu Heaven. Mo wasn't afraid. He had a way to escape in the void. He took out a void flying snow. Half a minute later, a void flying snow took Mo and disappeared in the endless void. It flew faster and faster until it merged with the void. Even an Immortal King won't be able to capture it with spirit sense easily. Mo didn't cultivate now. He used the 7 refined stones to refine his heaven flame 9 suns. 5 months later, Mo came out of the Golden Page world and put away void flying snow. He knew he had completely lost sense of direction. He didn't know where this was. The heaven domain void was boundless, countless times bigger than the 33 heaven domains combined. Mo didn't have enough cultivation resource here nor a sense of direction in the void, but he wasn't worried. He started collecting asteroids to refine void secret silver. After a while, he would let the void flying snow drive again while he practiced forgery in the Golden Page world. He couldn't forge top-grade immortal artifact yet. He could use this time to study immortal forgery. However, he didn't have enough materials for practice. The materials in the Golden Page world were his battle loot. They were all top grade and he wasn't willing to use it for practice. Plus, he didn't have a lot of them. The Void had the most Void secret silver. If he could capture enough, he could practice. During this time, Yemo encountered Void Immortal Spirit Beast Packs and Void Asteroid Storms. 2 months later, he had collected a large pile of Void secret silver. The grade wasn't very high, but Yemo didn't care. During this process, Yemo found his refining abilities grew better and better. If he released blue like morning sky, he could melt an asteroid very quickly and refine the silver out. Yemo even got tens of beautiful Void Diamond Jade. They were prettier than ordinary jade and came in all sorts of colors. They were the best ornaments for female immortals and could also be made into defensive magic artifacts. At the 3rd month, Yemo stopped collecting Void secret silver. He had enough for a while. The materials were low grade, but if he could forge low grade materials into high-level immortal artifact, then that was skill. Just when Yemo wanted to go into the Golden Page world and let Void Flying Snow drive, he found in shock that there was a Heaven Domain immortal pill in his spirit sense. It was enormous but seemed minuscule compared to the Void. I finally Thave to travel alone in the Void. Yemo knew that not all immortal ships were shameless like the one he first took. This immortal ship stopped in the Void clearly to collect asteroids. Yemo sped up towards the ship. He had already prepared his story. He would say he was collecting asteroids and then encountered an asteroid storm and missed the embarking of the ship. But when Yemo neared the immortal ship, he noticed things weren't right. This ship was too quiet. It didn't have a sliver of life force. In other words, this was like a ghost ship. Yemo was a great Unity immortal and slayed countless evil spirits and ghosts. He wasn't scared of these things. But in the eerie silent Void, a Heaven Domain stopped in eerie silence too was indeed eerie. If an accident happened, this ship shouldn't be so well preserved. The decks were still open as though waiting for the immortals to come back. Yemo stopped. Ghosts weren't scary, but there were too many things scarier than ghosts in the Void. He didn't want to go in and die. He didn't plan to give up on the ship. He couldn't take it, but if something really happened, there would be plenty of treasure on the ship. He might even be able to find a Void location disk. Yemo hid his power carefully and flew onto the deck of the 1st level without resistance. Standing on here, Yemo just felt everything was too silent. Yemo scanned his spirit sense in carefully. It was empty, but all the facilities were perfectly fine. Yemo broke into a few luxury-looking places with his spirit sense blades, but there was still no one inside. Yemo carefully walked forward a step. He made no sounds, but this voice rang in the bottom of his heart. Yemo stopped again. If there really was nothing on this ship, it wasn't worth him taking the risk. His spirit sense went back to the 1st level and there was still nothing. There would at least be Immortal King protecting a Heaven Domain ship. Even if there's someone powerful enough to kill Immortal King, it wouldn't leave 0 marks. Even so, it wouldn't just leave an immortal ship here. Suddenly, there was this sensation from the bottom of his heart. Yemo walked forward 10 more steps. There was this desperate feeling, telling him to go deeper into the ship. The deeper he went, the more intense that feeling was. When Yemo scanned with his spirit sense again, he found there was just storage ring, high-level ores, magic artifact, pills, cultivation method, and so forth scattered everywhere. However, he didn't see these things before. Yemo couldn't resist the excitement in his heart and sped up. If he took all of these, he would only need to focus on cultivation. But after 10 steps, Yemo suddenly stopped. Yemo woke up with the use of 3 birth chant. Did he need to be this excited? He had plenty of good things. These pills and cultivation method were nothing. He had seen much better things than these before, and he wasn't this excited. Yemo's heart shivered. He forcefully stopped himself from going forward and then released his spirit sense blades. He found that everything he had seen before had disappeared. It was just an illusion. This ship isn't not right. Yemo shot out a spirit sense mark and instant transmissioned out to the deck without hesitation. Going back out, Yemo even had the feeling that when he was about to leave, the ship restriction was about to close, but his instant transmission was too fast and the ship wasn't able to do so in time. Looking strangely at this silent ship, Yemo's heart was skipping fast. That feeling was too strange. If he didn't have the bitter bamboo, he would have gone into the depth of the ship. Emo subconsciously retreated a few km before stopping. He really didn't want to leave a big ship like this without getting anything. Void mist came. Emo had a strange feeling that this ship was about to disappear, but when he checked with his spirit sense, the ship was still here. Emo frowned. When his spirit sense scanned in again and looked at the silo, Emo was shocked. This was the first time he had seen so much void secret silver. They were stacked up in mountains. No matter how eerie this ship was, Emo wasn't planning to let go of these void secret silver. But would they be fake? Emo used the 3-birth chant again, and when he was certain he was very awake, he hacked over with a few spirit sense blades. The spirit sense blades fell on the silver as though they were real. This wasn't an illusion. Emo retreated a few thousand meters back before opening up his spirit sense domain, ensuring there were no spirit sense scanning at him. Then, he took out a bitter bamboo leaf and set up a few restrictions on it before placing it in his mouth. Emo had decided to take those void secret silver. The bottom deck was usually for immortals with little immortal crystals. This deck was also called the refinery. The door to the bottom deck was also wide open. Emo thought for a while but eventually deigned go in to risk it. He really wanted the void secret silver, but what if he entered and the ship shut? Wouldn't he be dead? Emo wouldn't be able to open a shut heaven domain ship in a quick while. Who knows what would happen during that time? Emo eventually decided to find an escape plan first. He retreated a few hundred km and found a huge asteroid. Emo used formation to stop this asteroid while setting up formation on the asteroid. He was going to set up a simple teleportation formation. Emo's idea was simple: if he couldn't leave the ship in time or the ship closed, he would be able to teleport out. Then, Emo used materials to forge a formation disk. This was the benefit of being an immortal formation great master. In a shut immortal ship, runes were useless but teleportation formations were useful. After setting all this up, Emo used stealth formation to hide the asteroid before nearing in on the ghost ship. Emo would never want to go in here if he didn't see all that secret silver. He felt there was this invisible power controlling this ship. Emo didn't hesitate this time and dashed to the bottom deck as quickly as he could and put the mountains of void secret silver in his storage ring while retreating. This entire process only took about a few seconds. But when Emo wanted to leave, he found the doors were really shut. Before he could use the teleportation formation disk, the place became boisterous. Walking sounds, yelling sounds, talking sounds. Emo scanned his spirit sense out but saw nothing. Were these things even souls? The spirit sense mark he left on the top deck clear saw countless people walking about, and they all seemed to be coming to the bottom deck. Even Emo felt his skin crawl. He used the teleportation formation disk without hesitation while connecting his spirit sense to the time formation disk. There was an ear-screeching sound. Emo felt his essence spirit was about to cripple. He was about to abandon the teleportation formation disk and charge into the deck, but the clear sensation emitted by bitter bamboo made him wake up instantly and activate the teleportation formation disk like crazy. Instantly, the teleportation formation disk was completely activated and swooped Emo away. At the same time, an invisible shadow swept past the place Emo was at before, and the instant Emo left, the time formation disk Emo left there also disappeared. Emo felt uncomfortable all over his body. There seemed to be this terrifying power dragging him back to the ship. He used mobility technique on the asteroid without hesitation. This ship was too eerie. If he knew there were all these things inside, he would rather not have the void secret silver. The instant Emo used mobility technique, he felt a powerful pulling force as though trying to pull him back. This wasn't just a material pulling force, it was also pulling his essence spirit and soul. Even though Emo used his immortal essence, he couldn't break free from this force. The spirit sense mark he left felt the deck open again as though waiting for him to go back in. The strong calling acted on Emo's soul and essence spirit. Emo was certain that if he didn't have the bitter bamboo leaf nor the 3-birth chant, he would have charged inside already. But there was no way he was going to go in now. The constant clear sensation from the bitter bamboo kept Emo's essence spirit and soul awake. He tried very hard to break free from that force, but even so Emo felt he was going back and getting closer and closer to the ship. His spirit sense couldn't even see what power was pulling him. The only thing he could do was use spirit sense blades and burn his immortal essence to break free. A void fissure appeared in Yi Mo's spirit sense. Usually, Yi Mo would as far from that as possible. The Heaven Domain Void Fissure was far from something the Cultivation Realm Void Fissure could compare with. But now, Yi Mo couldn't care. He instant transmissioned into the Void Fissure without hesitation. Yi Mo couldn't instant transmission very far with the terrifying pulling force of the ship, but it was barely enough to let him make it into the Void Fissure. The instant he went into the void, his spirit sense scanned the ship head and saw 3 black words. Ghost ship. Yi Mo didn't have the mood to think about it. The instant he went into the Void Fissure, cracking sound came non-stop. In a very short breath, a few of his bones cracked. Void winds tore through his skin like it was rags. This was just less than a second. If this continued longer, Yi Mo would have been turned to pieces. However, he was in the Golden Page world now. At the same time, the Golden Spot Golden Page world was swept away by the Void Fissure. Yi Mo breathed heavily in the Golden Page world. The Golden Page world saved him again. Without it, he would have died countless times. He was covered in wounds, but Yi Mo felt assured. The Void Fissure would take him to some unknown place, but in the Golden Page world he was safe. The immortal Nirvana body couldn't stop the ravaging of the Void Fissure, but it could allow Yi Mo to recover quickly. A few days later, Yi Mo had completely recovered and walked around the Golden Page world with after fear. He felt it was too risky what he did before. That ghost ship was this terrifying. Yi Mo waved out piles of void secret silver. Some of them have even reached level 7 immortal grade. Yi Mo threw out a few surveillance formation discs wanting to see if he was still in the Void Fissure, but soon, he found that he needed to see outside. Before, he would need surveillance formation discs to see outside the Golden Page world. Otherwise, he would only have an obscure feeling, but now, he could see very clearly. It was a mess outside. Space tearing. Dispositions were everywhere. It was still extremely dangerous Void Fissure. Yi Mo took back his spirit sense and ignored this situation. He had this many void secret silver, he had plenty of things to do. He didn't need to care where the Golden Page world was. He would just go out when the Golden Page world was in a safe place. Time passed unknowingly while Yi Mo studied immortal forgery. The mountains of void secret silver were forged into all sorts of immortal artifact by Yi Mo. However, it had only been 3 months outside. Yi Mo could forge level 7 immortal artifact now. When half a year had gone by outside, Yi Mo could use level 6 void secret silver to forge top-grade immortal artifact. Yi Mo was certain that if he had the materials he could even forge level 8 immortal artifact, but he didn't have level 8 immortal material. Half a year later, Yi Mo put away the time formation disc. It could be used to study, but when he was forging his favorite magic artifact, it was best not to use it. He had too much void silver before. Even after non-stop forgery for decades, he still had a small mountain left. This small mountain were all level 7. Yi Mo left it for the World Rock. The World Rock was extremely powerful, and with the Tai Mountain Crush God art, he would be using it quite often. However, the World Rock had a lethal flaw, and that was people could easily recognize what it was made of. After forging so many void secret silver, Yi Mo had an idea. He would cover the World Rock in void secret silver. This way, it would increase its power while not exposing it. The purple Nirvana level 3 blue like morning sky melted the void silver rapidly and refined it to a very high purity. As layers of silver liquid were tipped on the World Rock, it was slowly covered. A month later, the small mountain of void secret silver disappeared and the World Rock had a thick layer of dark silver cloak. Yi Mo's spirit controlled his World Rock again. Half a day later, a small waiting stone the size of his palm appeared. It was done. Yi Mo looked at this World Rock and was very satisfied. Now, he could use it without restraint even before Immortal King. Yi Mo immediately took out his level 7 material sky mobility gold and upgraded his blue moon. With a few pairs of shadowless vulture mane feathers added too, Blue Moon was upgraded to level 7 flying immortal artifact. Seeing this, Yi Mo sighed. When Lu Wu who forged his blue moon for him, he would have never expected it to become a top-grade immortal artifact. Only a few decades had passed. He wondered where Lu Wuhu was now and if he ascended to the immortal realm yet. Emo also reforged that octagonal cauldron replica. It should be able to be used in crucial times. With all these things done, Emo scanned his spirit sense out again. He found that the outside environment seemed much better. At least there were much less void dispositions and weaker void storms. After leaving the Golden Page world, Emo just realized that the environment was still dangerous but no longer lethal. Emo didn't go into the Golden Page world, but instead let out void flying snow. It had the ability to avoid danger in the void and was countless times faster than his top-grade flying immortal artifact. A month later, Emo put away void flying snow. He knew that it was pointless to let it keep flying. He had left danger, but he was probably still not even out of the void fissure. If he didn't leave the void fissure and go into the heaven domain void, it was pointless to let the void flying snow fly for 100 years. It wasn't easy to go from void fissure into the heaven domain void. It was either he had the power to tear open this void or he could find another void fissure to go out. He wasn't able to do either of those. Tear the void, probably not even immortal monarch could do this. The void here was very stable, not something the cultivation realm could compare with. As for leaving through void fissure, Emo didn't want to. He was mere immortal nirvana body. He would probably be torn to pieces before even getting close to it. Perhaps he could go into the Golden Page world and test his luck, but he didn't believe he would be that lucky. Emo collected his mood and studied the environment around him. In this situation, there was one more possibility of going out, that was body refinement. If his body refinement reached a level, he would be able to leave through void fissure. The void fissure was suitable for body refinement whether it was in the cultivation realm or the immortal realm. Emo started to find small void storms to refine his body. At the start, he was desperate, but slowly, he forgot he was still in the void fissure. From small void storms to large ones and then asteroid flows and void whirlpools, as Emo's body refinement kept improving, he also changed places. 3 years later, Emo's cultivation level didn't progress, but his body refinement reached immortal nirvana body peak stage. He was just one step away from immortal spirit body. This void fissure was perfectly set up for body refinement. Emo had decided to leave here first. He would find a better place to break through to immortal spirit body. Just when Emo wanted to release Blue Moon, he found a very rapid figure pass in his spirit sense. Emo saw clearly that it was a person. There were people here. Emo was dazed, but then he immediately rejoiced. This meant that he would be able to know where this place was now. Emo quickly used a mobility technique to go over. That person was going fast, but he wasn't intentionally flying away. 5 minutes later, Emo saw that figure and greeted with his spirit sense. As Emo expected, that person stopped. It was a great eternity immortal. Emo saw this person's power before even going up to him. Immortal friend, hello? Do you have business with me? The great eternity immortal saw Emo was only a great unity immortal and his eyes showed a sliver of confusion. But he still greeted Emo first. This great eternity immortal didn't have any attitude towards a great unity immortal. This made Emo have a great impression of this person. He quickly saluted with his fists. Immortal friend, I accidentally came into the void fissure, and I still haven't been able to find a way out. Did you come in here by accident too? You came into the void fissure accidentally? The great eternity immortal stared at Emo in shock. Void fissure's most terrifying part was the same as a heaven domain void. When it was first entered, it wasn't something ordinary immortals could handle. If someone forcefully went in, he would be torn apart. Yet, Emo said he came in awkwardly. Emo touched his head in an awkward manner. I came with a heaven domain immortal ship to collect asteroids, but then there was a void fissure. Luckily, I had a top-grade protection rune, and I'm a low-level body refinement cultivator. That's how I survived. So that's it. The great eternity immortal breathed easy. Then he continued, this is a place where many people come for body refinement. I'm a body refinement cultivator too, but unlike you, I was teleported in. There's a teleportation formation here. Usually, body refinement cultivators teleport here for body refinement. I thought you were teleported in here like me too. Emo rejoiced. There was a teleportation formation into Void Fissure for body refinement. This was the first time he had heard of such big means. Which powerful being did this? With a teleportation formation, didn't it mean he could go out at any time? Thinking about this, Emo saluted with his fists and asked, Immortal friend, where is the teleportation formation? The Great Eternity Immortal said, It's a bit far from here. You haven't been there before, so it will be hard to find it. I've only been here for a few years, so I can't go out with you. The people here are very scattered, so it's hard to find someone. Everyone has a void location disk, but I only have one, so I can't lend it to you. Emo quickly said, It's fine. May I ask when Immortal friend would go? I'm going to practice body refinement as well, so I'll stay with you. I'm Emo, of course. If it's not convenient for you, then just tell me the exact location and I'll have a look myself. The Great Eternity Immortal laughed. Of course it's convenient. If you don't mind, then come with me. I'm Jishu. I'm planning to go to Endless Flame River to break through. We can go together. By the way, you're Immortal Nirvana body, right? If not, you can't go in. Emo nodded. Thank you, Brother G. I'm already Immortal Nirvana body. Not simple. Jishu raised his thumb to Emo. After chatting with Jishu for a while, Emo felt this person was good. He was easy to talk to and didn't act condescending because he was a Great Eternity Immortal. Both were Immortal Nirvana body and they spoke as they traveled. They didn't slow down at all and instead went faster and faster. Jishu was amazed that Emo could keep up with his speed and applauded Emo again. By the way, Brother G, which heaven domain did you come from? Emo couldn't help asking. He hoped he was further away from Yuanla heaven. I'm from Chongrong heaven. What about you, Brother Yi? Jishu said. Chongrong heaven? Emo was shook. He didn't expect to have come to a grand heaven domain from the Void Fissure. What's wrong? Jishu looked at Emo in confusion. Emo rejoiced and said, I came from a middle heaven domain. I didn't expect walking in the Void Fissure for a few years brought me to a grand heaven domain. Life is really full of the unexpected. This is very normal, you're very lucky. Some people may never be able to come to a grand heaven domain from a middle heaven domain, but you can so easily. Jishu smiled and said. Emo smiled bitterly. There were so many times he almost died. It wasn't easy at all. In these 2 days, the two chatted very nicely. Jishu found that Emo knew many things he didn't understand about body refinement. What shook him was that Emo's body refinement level was higher than him. He was Immortal Nirvana body middle stage, but Emo was tertiary stage. Emo didn't say he was peak stage. He knew Jishu was here to break through Immortal Nirvana body middle stage. Once he reached Immortal Nirvana body tertiary stage, Jishu would leave and he could follow. So when Jishu asked about body refinement, Emo told him everything he knew, hoping Jishu would break through earlier. Emo was the perfect teacher since he cultivated the 3-birth chant, and in a short 2 days, Jishu's understanding of body refinement increased a level. He was very grateful and said to Emo, Brother Yi, if you don't know anything about cultivation, just ask me. I won't hide anything from you. Jishu felt his cultivation level was higher than Emo, so he would be able to help him. Emo didn't make him feel bad and asked him a few slightly harder questions, making Jishu feel great. 3 days later, the three stopped. Emo was dazed. This was the first time he saw such a terrifying flame river. It was endless and dark red. The waves rose into the sky. No wonder this place was called the Endless Flame River. Emo could feel the scorching heat at the side. If one went in, wouldn't he turn to dust immediately? This is the Flame River. We're only Immortal Nirvana body, so we can only stay at the border of the river. You must remember not to go into the river. The temperature inside is terrifyingly high. Not even someone with an immortal spirit body can go in, Jishu said. Emo nodded seriously. Emo took out a communication bead and said, Brother G, we'll each go find a place to cultivate. If you finish, then tell me. I can leave at any time. Okay, we'll do that. You're a good person, Brother Yi. When we get to Chongrong Heaven, I'll introduce you some friends. We can practice together, it's very useful. Jishu patted Yemo's shoulder. The two bid farewell and each chose a direction. Emo walked along the river a few hundred km before choosing a rather calm place to enter. As soon as he entered, the terrifying heat wave came over him. His clothes were instantly turned to dust. In just 1 second Emo could smell burnt flesh. Emo didn't dare to keep thinking and immediately used his body refinement cultivation method. He didn't understand how Jishu entered such place. He shouldn't be able to go in. However, this place had dense immortal spirit chi and endless flame river waves. It was indeed the best place for body refinement. As Emo used his body refinement cultivation method, he slowly forgot he was in the flame river. The bones and blood in his body were refined once again. The burnt skin slowly turned red and then back to its original color while Emo felt his skin and bones rapidly growing stronger. Crack, crack. After that sound, the immortal essence and blood in his body flowed clearly. Moments later, the sounds lowered and the temperature around him seemed to have dropped a lot. Immortal spirit body? Emo soon knew that he indeed reached immortal spirit body. This was such a good place Emo couldn't help sighing. If it was some other place, it would take some time. But here, he didn't even feel it and he was immortal spirit body. When Emo continued to devour immortal spirit chi, he felt that he needed to break through again. If he didn't break through, there was no point in cultivation. But how could he break through here? He didn't have immortal crystals or immortal ranges. He had extreme Xia pills, but that wasn't enough. He needed immortal spirit chi too. Emo knew that after his divine damnation finished, there wouldn't be a rainbow immortal spirit chi cloud. Jishu was a good person, but he was still in body refinement. Even if he wasn't, Emo was too embarrassed to ask a person he just met for immortal crystals. Plus, he needed a few 100 million. Emo thought for a long while and eventually decided to have his divine damnation here. His body refinement was now immortal spirit body. If he could set up a spirit gathering immortal formation here, perhaps the immortal spirit chi from the river was enough. At this moment, Emo was some distance away from the river. He planned to use a few top-grade materials to forge formation flags, but when he saw the ores at the bottom of the river, he immediately changed his mind. He hadn't seen the ores before, but he knew they would definitely be sturdier than the materials he used for formation flag. The river was too hot, the formation flags might get melted. Emo picked up the ore and immediately knew it wasn't ordinary. At least it was on par with Void Secret Silver. He also found the redder they were, the higher their level. In just half a day, Emo found more than 10 of these nearby. With these materials, Emo forged formation flags even faster. The spirit-gathering immortal formation had been set up. Emo was helpless. If he had enough immortal crystals, he definitely wouldn't have his divine damnation here. Even though he was immortal spirit body, this wasn't a good idea. Thus, Emo had no choice but to rest his hopes on the immortal spirit chi here. He even set up 3 joined spirit-gathering immortal formation. After eating the extreme Xia pill, Emo sat at the bottom of the river and started to break through to great extreme immortal. The speed at which the 3-birth chant devoured immortal spirit chi was terrifying. In a short while, the nearby immortal spirit chi rushed over to Emo like crazy. The area almost increased to 10,000 square kilometers. The most immortal spirit chi actually came from the bottom of the river. With the spirit gathering immortal formations, the immortal spirit chi was pulled up. Emo was very shocked. What was in this river? There was such dense immortal spirit chi. If he had such immortal spirit chi during his divine damnation, he didn't need to worry at all. After resting easy, Emo devoured immortal spirit chi even faster. The immortal spirit chi here had a faint red color, but Emo felt this immortal spirit chi was more useful in expanding his meridians and empowering his immortal essence. Clearly, the red-colored immortal spirit chi was of higher quality than ordinary immortal spirit chi. This time, the divine damnation came very slowly. 3 entire days passed, and only then was there a deep rumbling in the sky. Before Emo got up, 36 bucket-width lightning bolts smashed open the river. Emo dared to charge against 9 lightning bolts when he just reached Great Unity Immortal. Now, these lightning bolts weren't much stronger than before. Emo wasn't going to be scared. The next moment, he was out of the river and released Lightning Sword. His fist greeted the lightning bolts too. As for the World Rock and Zisu, Yemo didn't even release them. At the West Barren Sands, he was ravaged by the bucket-sized lightning bolts. Now that he was immortal spirit body, it was his turn. Crack, 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 the black lightning sword struck the lightning bolts. Meanwhile, Yemo punched lightning bolts, splitting them apart and causing endless rumbling sounds in the air. The waves of the flame river were extremely loud, so this sound was immediately covered. The rest of the lightning bolts all struck Yemo. Yemo's immortal spirit body skin was burnt by the bolts of lightning, but all Yemo knew was to devour the lightning source like crazy. His body wasn't affected at all. A few years ago, when he reached Great Unity Immortal, 6 bolts almost killed him, but now he took 36 bolts unaffected. Each of these bolts were stronger than those 6 bolts combined. Even Yemo felt his power and body refinement were good indeed. If he didn't reach the immortal spirit body, he would be abused again. Ha ha ha! Seeing that the lightning bolts couldn't hurt him, Yemo laughed and stood on top of the endless river like a god, while waiting for the divine damnation to rain down. The dense immortal spirit chi nourished Yemo, making him feel very comfortable. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Yemo just devoured the 36 bolts when another wave of thunder sounded. Yemo stood on a flame wave and charged over. Another 36 bolts fell. Yemo punched 9 times consecutively. He really wanted more lightning bolts to fall, but this divine damnation wasn't good enough. The lightning sparks shone again and was swept away by the terrifying flame waves. 2 waves and a total of 72 bolts fell. Yemo's power rose drastically. Just one more wave and he would reach Great Extreme Immortal for certain. Yemo knew clearly that as long as he didn't break through, the divine damnation couldn't leave. So despite knowing that it couldn't do anything to him, it still had to keep falling. Indeed, the 3rd wave of divine damnation fell. However, this time there were only 9 bolts. He couldn't even be bothered stopping it and just took the blow. Rumble, the immortal essence inside Yemo's body underwent qualitative change and his sea of consciousness expanded again. Feeling this powerful immortal essence power, Yemo knew he was Great Extreme Immortal now. From now on, he wouldn't fear any immortal below status immortal. This was his confidence. Just when Yemo thought there weren't going to be more divine damnation, the space above his head crackled again. Yemo looked up in shock. These bolts fell down one by one. It looked like there was a lot, but it would only benefit him. Why did it keep falling? According to his understanding of divine damnation, if he broke through, there wouldn't be any more. Today seemed a bit irrational. But soon Yemo cast these thoughts aside. The more bolts, the better it was for him. Yemo focused on devouring lightning source and refining his lightning sword and lightning sand. When the last bolt disappeared, Yemo actually saw immortal spirit chi cloud fall down. What happened? Did the divine damnation change personality? It was willing to give him rainbow immortal spirit chi cloud? Regardless, the cloud was very good. It had extremely dense immortal spirit chi and a sliver of Dao law inside. 5 days later, Yemo stopped cultivation. He benefited quite a bit this time from divine damnation. He put away the spirit-gathering immortal formation. The heart of the river had such dense immortal spirit chi. Clearly there was something good, but his power was too low. He wouldn't be able to reach the center. When his body refinement power is high enough, he would come back to have a look. Yemo stood on the river surface feeling very good. Waves of flames brushed past him, but Yemo didn't feel them at all. These waves couldn't pose a threat to him anymore. Instead, he felt this flame river was a beautiful scene and he was just enjoying this beauty. Watching the waves follow one after another, it was like he was the controller. Controller? Yemo had a sudden enlightenment. After a long while, he suddenly opened his eyes and punched. This wasn't void, this was a new punch. After this punch, the waves instantly stopped. Yemo's punch punched out flames like the flame wave, but this flame was blue. 3 consecutive waves of blue flame, each one higher than the other. These flames covered the flame river. Second fist god art, wave kill. Taking back his fist, the 3 waves disappeared. Yemo looked at his fist. His heart was full of surprise and joy. He didn't expect to suddenly create this god art, fusing this flame wave and blue like morning sky. reaching Great Extreme Immortal and Immortal Spirit Body primary stage, as well as creating a new god art, Wave Kill. Even Yemo was satisfied with himself. His power had increased many times since he left Yuanlu Heaven. Now that he was at a Grand Heaven domain, he would be able to cultivate till Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage if he found how Heaven Grand Emperor's heritage. He had seen an Immortal King's power. Although he knew that even when he was Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage, he might not be a match for an ordinary Immortal King. He believed that it wouldn't be easy for an Immortal King to kill him once he was Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage. Yemo stopped cultivation. He practiced body refinement in the river while searching for those red ores. He felt they were good things. Soon, 1 year had passed and Yemo left further and further from the riverbank. His body refinement power soon stabilized at Immortal Spirit Body primary stage. He found more and more red ores and even a few extremely red ones. At this moment, the communication bead sounded. Yemo knew it was Jishu calling him. It had been 2 years. Jishu probably reached Immortal Nirvana Body tertiary stage. Yemo soon left the river and saw Jishu with a joyful face. Brother Ji, congratulations on reaching Immortal Nirvana Body tertiary stage. Yemo saluted with his fists. Jishu was clearly in a good mood. But then he looked at Yemo dazedly and asked, Brother Yi, your Great Extreme Immortal power now? Yemo nodded. Yes, I've been at Great Unity Immortal Peak stage for many years. Now that I reached Great Extreme Immortal, it's just all past effort. Jishu didn't know how many years was many years. He thought it was a few millenniums, so he congratulated. That's good, we both acquired something here. I reached Immortal Nirvana Body tertiary stage and got a few good Endless Flame River Gold. Endless Flame River Gold? Yemo was dazed and then took out a few ores he picked up to Jishu. You're talking about this? You have it too? Yeah, this is Endless Flame River Gold. It's very valuable. Your ones are all level 6 immortal materials. If you can get level 7 ones, then people would be fighting over each other to buy them even in the immortal cities. Congratulations, Brother Yi, you're quite lucky, Jishu said. Yemo thought that he had collected a large pile after all these years. If he sold them for immortal crystals, he should be able to get a lot, right? The Endless Flame River Gold are in the depths of the Endless Flame River. The brighter red they are, the higher their level. Usually, Immortal Nirvana Body people can only get level 6 Endless Flame River Gold. If you want to get better ones, you would have to go deeper, but then you would at least need to be Immortal Spirit Body, Jishu said. Yemo nodded. He didn't take out his level 7 ones. Since they were useful, he would learn what their use were first. By the way, Brother Yi, something seemed to have happened a year ago at the Endless Flame River. Did you notice it? Jishu asked. What thing? Yemo asked in confusion. Jishu said seriously. A year ago, I suddenly felt the immortal spirit chi become volatile as though being swept away. This lasted for a few days and there were lightning sounds too. The lightning sounded more terrifying than an immortal king divine damnation. I was scared there was some powerful immortal spirit beast having its divine damnation nearby. I wanted to alert you, but I was afraid of offending that immortal spirit beast. Luckily you're fine. Seeing Yemo in a daze, Jishu quickly said, Usually if you don't mess with immortal king-level immortal spirit beasts, they don't attack you. Other than a rare few hot-tempered ones, most wouldn't go kill immortals casually. Yemo let out a long breath and nodded. I understand. He didn't expect Jishu to have thought of him as an immortal king immortal spirit beast. But Yemo didn't tell him the truth. Let's go, we'll fly to the teleportation formation. There are void fissures and space storms everywhere here. It's not good to use flying immortal artifacts, Jishu said and flew. Yemo had spirit sense domain, but since Jishu said it was bad, he could only follow behind him. The two talked as they went, conversing body refinement experience. Soon, Jishu found that even though he was Immortal Nirvana Body tertiary stage, Yemo still knew much more than he did about body refinement. Half a month later, the two came to an asteroid platform that was a few thousand km wide. The asteroid was frozen in place by a huge formation. There were some cultivation homes on the asteroid and a few simple merchant towers with immortals walking about. There are only body refinement cultivators here. Almost all the body refinement immortals of the 11 Grand Heaven domains come here. Even so, Some immortals still die here each year. Sometimes they die due to natural disasters, sometimes due to body refinement failure, Jishu explained and sighed. Emo sighed too. If he didn't have Golden Page World, he would have been gone already. The journey of cultivation was extremely hard. One mistake and your soul and body would be gone. Jishu brought Emo to a big palace. There was nothing else but a teleportation formation here. A great eternity immortal sat expressionlessly next to the teleportation formation. Brother Yi, it costs 20 million top-grade immortal crystals each time. Jishu saw Emo had no intention of taking out immortal crystals and reminded. What? This much? Emo was dazed. Even heaven domain teleportation formations didn't require that much. Jishu smiled bitterly. Brother Yi, this is a grand heaven domain. This is only the price to exit, the price to enter is even higher. If you don't have enough immortal crystals, I can lend you. Emo felt his nose and said, I have immortal crystals, but I just didn't expect it to be this high. Then, Emo took out his only 20 million immortal crystals. With this, he was broke again. Body refinement was indeed not for the poor. 10 million immortal crystals was countless years of savings for a great extreme immortal. These powerful beings really knew how to earn money. Just how much were they able to earn each year? Jishu clearly was no ordinary person to be able to come here. It cost this much to come in, people clearly would want to stay longer. Perhaps Jishu left early for him. Thinking about this, Emo saluted with his fists. Brother G. You spent this much immortal crystals and you only stayed inside for a few years. I really feel ashamed. Jishu smiled. I didn't plan to stay inside for long anyways. Brother Yi, we get along really well. I consider you my friend. No need to mention this anymore. Perhaps you will be able to help me in the future. Jishu felt Emo wasn't ordinary, and he really did want to be friends with Emo. He was planning to stay a few extra years, but due to Emo he left early. Plus, he really didn't care about tens of millions of immortal crystals. Emo nodded. Okay. I have some confidence in forgery. If Brother G needs me to forge something, you can come to me. Emo thought he could forge level 8 immortal artifacts. He might really be able to help him. Humph, arrogant. Two immortals behind them heard this and one of them sneered. A good immortal forgery great master took countless years. Emo didn't seem very old. Jishu pulled Emo into the teleportation formation. Let's go. Jishu didn't mention forgery either. Clearly he felt Emo could at most forge ordinary middle-grade immortal artifacts. This was nothing to a great eternity immortal. Plus, what immortal artifact didn't his family have? Emo smiled. He wasn't going to do anything even if Jishu didn't pull him. Leaving the teleportation formation, they came to a planet-like place and then took the teleportation formation back to Changrong Heaven. When they got there, 1 month had passed. Brother Yi, what plans do you have? Jishu asked. He felt that Emo knew a lot of things and his understanding of cultivation wasn't something that his other friends could compare with. I'm planning to go around Changrong Heaven and then leave, Emo said. Jishu said hospitably, Brother Yi, if you don't mind, come with me to Xianxia Immortal City. I have many friends there, I can introduce them to you. I believe you will soon get their recognition. My father is Yong Immortal King, City Lord of Xianxia City. He's great friends with Changrong Heaven's Heaven Lord. Your father is an immortal king? And a city lord? Emo repeated in shock. Jishu smiled. Yes, but I never rely on my father. I have what I have today purely through my own effort. Of course, other people might give me some help on my father's account. Emo believed his words. Jishu could go into the Void Fissure alone for body refinement. This meant that was different than other city lord young masters. Okay, let's go to Xianxia Immortal City then. Emo agreed. Emo had seen immortal cities of low and middle heaven domains. The first time he saw by Immortal City he was overwhelmed, and eventually when he saw New Immortal City he didn't think much. But coming to the Xianxia Immortal City, he felt he came from the countryside. Even the immortal spirit chi outside the city was extremely dense. For someone who was used to middle and low heaven domain immortal spirit chi, he really wasn't used to this. The city gates were 300 meters wide and the city walls couldn't be touched by spirit sense. He knew there was a city wall but didn't know how high nor what it was made from. Emo knew this must be due to a top-grade formation. After entering the city, what caught Emo's attention the most wasn't the immortal spirit chi but all the merchant towers. Many signs were made by top-grade immortal jade. Some doors were also ornamented with all sorts of top-grade immortal materials. The streets here were at least 10 times wider than in a Middle Heaven domain immortal city. Emo found that the immortals going in and out of the merchant towers all wore good quality immortal artifact clothes. They were pretty and defensive magic artifacts. Is everyone in Grand Heaven domains this wealthy? Emo asked in shock. Haha. This is all just superficial. In the Grand Heaven domain, if you don't dress well, people will look down on you. Many people wear all the fortune they have on them. Don't admire them. Jishu patted Yemo's shoulder. Yemo shook his head. So the main theme of Grand Heaven domain immortal cities was to compare wealth. This was a bit too low. For the real wealthy immortals, their clothes on the outside was nothing. The real treasure was their inner armor. Jishu! A coarse voice sounded and the two looked up at the same time. It was a square-faced immortal. He's also Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary Stage. Haha. I wanted to find you guys, but as soon as I came back I met you all. Jishu smiled and pulled Emo over. Emo saw 3 men and 2 women coming over. Emo stared at one extremely beautiful female immortal and was dazed. He felt she seemed familiar. But she didn't seem very hospitable, nor did she have much expression. Clearly, there was something on her mind. She wore a blue-fitted immortal dress with a long flute on her back. Her looks were on par with Sun Ran goddess. Emo was confused. He should know this person as he felt she was familiar. Brother Yi, Emo? Seeing Emo stare at that female immortal without blinking, Jishu felt a little awkward. He pulled Emo and wanted to laugh. Brother Yi knew a lot but probably hadn't come in contact with pretty goddesses before. He would introduce a few to him later. Humph! That thin-eyed Great Eternity immortal already saw what Emo did and grunted to show his dissatisfaction. Emo woke up and realized his rudeness. He quickly took back his gaze and saluted with his fists. It's my first time seeing such a pretty goddess, my apologies. Brother G, your new friend is really interesting. Great, some people who know they are being rude wouldn't dare to say it. I'll make this friend. It was another Great Eternity immortal. He was extremely handsome and had a golden fan in his hand showing his scholarly look. Haha. Let me introduce. Jishu said, Emo. This is Chi Baitsong, Ping Liang Immortal City's young city lord. It said he's a goddess killer. Any goddess he's interested in would eventually fall into his hands. Emo quickly saluted with his fists and greeted. This is Sii Shiyu, Longyu Mountain's core disciple. Longyu Immortal Mountain is one of the top sects of Changrong Heaven. It's an emperor sect. So, Brother Yi needs to get closer with Brother Sii. Sii Shiyu was that Great Eternity immortal who grunted at Emo. He interrupted. I don't really like being friends with lustful people. Thanks for your good will Brother G. Jishu didn't mind and pointed at the green-robed female immortal. Brother Yi. This is Immortal Monarch Sect Sound Sword Sects. Sect leader's private disciple Joruyan. Joruyan was polite and greeted Emo. Then, Jishu pointed at that square-faced Great Eternity immortal. This is Brother Inhui. Inhui used that coarse voice and laughed. I'm a solo cultivator. I don't have their grandiose background. I'm a solo cultivator too. Emo felt that Inhui seemed to be the strongest of them. This is Li Kuan, Yulong Mountain core disciple. Her master is... Emo was completely dazed. Li Kuan. No wonder she seemed so familiar. If Jishu didn't say her name, he wouldn't even remember who she was. She was the main female character of the Lost Soul Ruins. Her father was called Li He. Her fiancé was Feng Shi, Feng Chun's son. Both of them were ambushed by Feng Chun. Feng Chun wanted Li Kuan's spirit root and used a spirit transfer formation to trick his son into believing it was soul-nourishing formation. His son was deeply in love with Li Kuan and would rather him become a normal person and lose his lifespan to use his soul to nourish Li Kuan's essence spirit. It was because Li Kuan had a sliver of Feng Shi's soul that Emo felt she was familiar. He still had the tear bead that contained 2 blood tears from Feng Shi after he died. Emo didn't expect her to have ascended to the immortal realm and in a few thousand years reach great eternity immortal tertiary stage. Her talent was too absurd. No wonder Feng Chun wanted her spirit root. Since he met her, he should give her back the tear bead. Feng Shi was a tragic person. Even Emo felt touched by their love. Brother Yi. Jishu pulled Emo again helplessly. He believed Emo was no ordinary immortal, but his performance today was below standard. Haha, Emo is a friend I met during body refinement. He has exceptional understanding of body refinement. Jishu introduced awkwardly. Sai Shiu sneered. Brother Ji, your friend is too high caliber. I can't be friends with him. Martial sister Li. Let's go. Then he turned and said no more. Li Kuan glanced at Emo once and said nothing. Then she was about to leave. Emo quickly called. Martial sister Li Kuan, I have some business with you. Emo didn't speak of Feng Shi. He didn't know if she liked him or not. If she didn't, then it was bad to bring it up. Seeing Emo's failure, Jishu laughed. Let's go. We'll go to the Flying Dawn Immortal Tower and sit for a while. In Hui, Qi Baitsong, Jiruyan all felt it was a good idea, so the 5 just went there straight away. Jishu was afraid Emo would be dejected, so he changed the topic. Brother Yi, Flying Dawn Tower is the biggest restaurant in the city. There's the best immortal wine, drunk jade well, and there's also top-grade spirit fruit. Even the tastiest immortal spirit beast meat is here too. Emo patted Jishu's shoulder. Brother Ji, don't worry about me. I just have some business with her. It's not what you think. You know her. Jishu smiled at Emo. Emo was speechless. How could he say he knew her? There were too many things involved. Don't think about that. I'll introduce a few pretty goddesses to you. Jishu laughed. Emo didn't know her but still had business with her. It was clear what he wanted. Brother Yi, Jishu is right. It's simple to meet pretty goddesses. Our Rian goddess is on par with Li Kuan. Or you can go to those female sects in Changrong Heaven. I promise you'll get what you want there. Qi Baitsong laughed. Zhou Rian grunted. Qi Baitsong. Why did you involve me? What did I do to you? Please forgive me. Qi Baitsong smiled and saluted with his fists. Emo could tell that they were really close and thus joked around like this. At the same time, he felt very grateful. Jishu's friends were all very nice. They said these things to help him forget what happened before. Soon, some immortal fruits and drunk jade well was brought up. The drunk jade well was indeed good. The taste was lingering and the immortal spirit chi inside was extremely dense. The wine would automatically turn into immortal essence. There's actually another name for this drunk jade well called poorest wine. If you fall in love with this wine, you will spend all your immortal crystals on this and eventually become poor. In Hui laughed. Emo forgot about Li Kuan already. If he saw her in the future, he could bring it up. If not, never mind. As they drank, they started discussing cultivation methods and the conversation went very well. When the 3 knew Emo was immortal nirvana body immortal, they were even more hospitable to him. Emo didn't explain he was immortal spirit body. He didn't need to show it off. When they discussed cultivation method and cultivation with Emo, they indeed found that Emo had his unique perceptions. Sometimes, one sentence from him would enlighten them on a trouble that had confused them for half a day. Jurium asked Emo a few questions and raised her cup to Emo. Martial brother Yi, your cultivation is lower than mine, but your understanding of cultivation method is very succinct and clear. Sometimes you explain things better than my master. I'll cheer you one. Then, she finished the cup. Emo quickly did the same. Seeing this, Zhou Ruyan said, Martial brother Yi, martial sister Li Kuan is very pretty. There are many people chasing her. I suggest you not to. I heard other than martial brother Sii Shiu. Small immortal king Lu Mang is also deeply in love with her. Lu Mang is Changrong Heaven's heaven lord, Qian Zhe immortal emperor's personal disciple. He has very high status in Changrong Heaven. Although my father is friends with Qian Zhe immortal emperor, his status to the immortal emperor is much lower than Lu Mang's, Jishu said. Emo knew what the two meant. If he offended Lu Mang, even Jishu's father wouldn't be able to help. Lu Mang is a top-grade prodigy of Changrong Heaven. Half a year later, There will be an extreme grade Great Immortal Dao discussion social in Yuandong Heaven. Almost all the prodigious great immortals of the grand heaven domains will go. Little immortal King Lu Mang will definitely go too. We can go as well. Jishu wanted to take EMO to see Lu Mang. Perhaps EMO would give up his thoughts after he saw how talented Lu Mang was. Yes, it's all the best prodigies below status immortal going. Some of them are halfway to status immortal. It will benefit us to go listen. Jiurian nodded. EMO asked in confusion. Lu Mang is already an immortal king. Why is he still going? Qi Baitsong laughed. Lu Mang is a small immortal king, not an immortal king. Although he's great eternity immortal peak stage, he's no weaker than an ordinary immortal king. Thus the title small immortal king. Lu Mang and Li Kuan are both the top grade prodigy of Chongrong Heaven. Both of them are great immortal power. They are invited to go. We can't participate, but we can listen in. There will also be large auctions there. I came out after reaching Immortal Nirvana Body Tertiary stage partly due to this Tao discussion social. Jishu explained. Okay. Thank you, I want to go see too. EMO agreed without hesitation. Brother Yi, we're quite similar. It's definitely worth a go. Qi Beirong laughed. EMO was speechless, he wasn't similar to this guy. Seeing Yemo's awkwardness, Yin Hui laughed. Even if you're not similar, you can still go. I heard there will be a god artifact outer realm flying spear. It can cross heaven domains and even realms, but it seems to be incomplete. Cross heaven domains and even realms? EMO asked in shock. He knew that it was usually top-grade immortal ships that could cross heaven domains and realms, but they were too big and spent a lot of time in the void. They were very sturdy and small void fissures couldn't affect them at all, but large ones would still destroy the ship. However, they usually had specific routes that avoided most of them. But god artifacts were different. They were beyond extreme-grade immortal artifacts. The immortal realm was large, but there were very few people who could forge god artifacts. Those who could were called divine masters. Due to very few people possessing this skill, there were no divisions amongst divine masters. God artifacts weren't the best magic artifacts in the immortal realm. The best magic artifact weren't forged. They were naturally born. Beyond God artifact was primordial artifact. Above that was chaos artifact. I heard of that outer realm flying spear. It's incomplete, but only a few ordinary restrictions are broken. It doesn't affect its flying capabilities. I heard a divine master made it according to void flying snow's properties. It's even faster than void flying snow and can accurately avoid void storms and asteroids. Jishu said. EMO suddenly thought of that ghost ship he had encountered. Immortal friends, I want to ask, have you heard of a ghost ship? EMO asked. The room fell eerily silent. Seeing this, EMO coughed. What's wrong, everyone? Jishu breathed. Those who often go in the void all know about the ghost ships. Those who encounter ghost ships would die for sure. If it's a high-level ghost ship, not even immortal emperors can escape. There's different levels of ghost ships? Are there many? EMO asked in shock. Judging by your tone, don't tell me you've encountered one? Qi Baitsong coughed and said, my bad. Jishu explained to EMO. He thought that if EMO encountered ghost ship, he wouldn't be sitting here. Jishu nodded and said seriously, do you know truth divine emperors? EMO shook his head, he actually didn't know. Remembering EMO came from a middle heaven domain, Jishu didn't think much and explained, Truth Divine Emperor is the strongest of the 9 Dao Vindication Divine Emperors. EMO was confused. From how Heaven Emperor, he was told that there wouldn't be more than 4 or 5 Dao Vindication Divine Emperors. How come there were 9 now? Jishu's story sounded like what Peng Gandang said. Jishu continued, Truth Divine Emperor is not only immensely powerful, he's the one with the most treasures. It's said that he not only has a time formation disk, but he also got the bitter bamboo and even the world mountain. Hearing this, Yemo's back went cold. Why did Jishu speak of the things he had? I've heard of the bitter bamboo. It's one of the 10 great spirit plants. Cultivating under it can prevent you from being attacked by heart demon and also increase your learning abilities. Jiurian said, That's right. Jishu nodded and continued, It's because that all his things were so unique that people were jealous. It said that Truth Divine Emperor was very cocky and never reasoned with people. He would kill whoever offended him. In the gathering of 9 divine emperors, he was interested in the daughter of another divine emperor and just pointed at her saying, "You will be with me from now on." One could see how dominant he is. Finally, his actions caused the other 8 divine emperors to attack him together. Qi said in contempt, of course they needed an excuse to gain up on him. Who knows why they really did it? I heard that the reason Truth Divine Emperor was gained up on was because he got the bitter bamboo. However, the bitter bamboo wasn't willing to recognize him as the master, so other divine emperors told him to bring it out and see who could become its master. Truth Divine Emperor disagreed, and so they fought. Yin Hui quickly said, "Baitsong, don't discuss the other divine emperors." Qi Baitsong nodded. Although Truth Divine Emperor was ambushed, that battle was tremendous. The heavens and earth changed. The stars shifted. It said in the ancient times the immortal realm only had one heaven domain. Due to that battle, the immortal realm was split into the 33 heavens. As time went on, voids severed and the immortal spirit Qi of the 33 heavens were different, forming the now grand, middle and low heaven domain. Jishu's words shocked Yemo. He had never thought the 33 heavens came to be in this way. Just how many people died? Then wouldn't the people during that time be? Yemo asked. Jishu nodded. That's right, it said less than 10% of the people lived. And the law of the immortal realm was broken, making it harder for immortals to grasp laws. So after that battle, no divine emperor ever came into existence. After that battle, only 4 to 5 of the divine emperors remain. No wonder how Heaven Emperor said 4 to 5 divine emperor. Yemo finally understood. Thinking about what he had, he asked worriedly, "Brother G, what about that Truth Divine Emperor?" Truth Divine Emperor lost his body and essence spirit under their attack, but I heard that Truth Divine Emperor didn't truly die. A sliver of his essence spirit escaped into the void. In order to avoid being annihilated, that sliver of essence spirit turned into countless spirit cultivators. These spirit cultivators would keep growing stronger and devour souls in the void. Many heaven domain immortal ships would be devoured clean if they encountered such spirit cultivator. Now, Jishu looked at Yemo. Now do you know what ghost ship is? The ghost ship is a sliver of divine emperor's essence spirit turning into spirit cultivator. It's invisible. Any immortal who see it isn't far from dying. There are also different levels of spirit cultivator. The higher they were, the more chances of dying. Of course, this is only a legend. I'm not really certain if the ghost ships are made from divine emperor soul. Then isn't it like the 9-headed void devouring bug? Yemo asked. The 9-headed void devouring bug split out souls that grew stronger individually before fusing back together. It seems similar but is actually very different. The 9-headed void devouring bug divided souls need to be controlled by people, while Truth Divine Emperor's essence spirit would seek other souls to merge together once it grew to a certain level. Jishu explained. Yemo was more and more shocked. This was too scary. If this was true, then he was too lucky to be able to Isakbi that ghost ship. Regardless, Yemo rejoiced him putting on stealth restriction on the bitter bamboo leaf. But even so, he wasn't certain if it was exposed. Why doesn't the other divine emperors care about the ghost ship? Yemo asked. Jishu shook his head. I heard that after the battle, the other divine emperors rarely came out. They were unseen. They were probably heavily injured. As for the ghost ships, as long as they didn't enter the heaven domain, no one would care. What about the top-grade magic artifacts of Truth Divine Emperor? Yemo asked. Qi Baitsong said, I heard about this. It said his top-grade magic artifact flew into the corners of the 33 heavens, some even in the world. Some low-grade magic artifact went into the cultivation realm. Hearing this, Yemo was shocked. Luo Yu Continent's Truth Fall Palace was Truth Divine Emperor's magic artifact. The more he thought about it, the more he thought it was right. There was spirit cultivators at level 7 of the Truth Fall Palace. They were controlled by Truth Divine Emperor's sliver of soul. If this was so, then the opening of Truth Fall Palace was a shenanigan. Every 30 years, countless elite cultivators would go into the Truth Fall Palace to give their souls to the spirit cultivators. Only those talented and with a strong soul could reach level 7. At the same time, Emo thought of the bitter bamboo and world rock he got at the Truth Fall Palace Forbidden Grounds. They all belonged to Truth Divine Emperor. Now that he had it, the first thing Truth Divine Emperor would do after he recovered was to annihilate him. If he could still defend a little against He Immortal King and Lu Zhengquan, then against a Divine Emperor, he could only await death. Although Jishu said these were just legends, but Yemo was very clear that at least more than half was real. Seeing Yemo's face was bad, Jishu said, "Let the gathering today end here. Brother Yi, are you going to my cultivation home or?" Yemo quickly said, "I'll go rent a cultivation home in the city." "No problem, I'll handle it," Jishu answered. This was the third day after the gathering, but Yemo was still in his cultivation home in contemplation. Jishu helped rent this cultivation home. The immortal spirit chi was very dense and the environment was great too. However, Yemo was still full of thoughts in his head. He really didn't take Lu Zhengquan seriously nor He Immortal King. It would only be a matter of time before he surpassed them. But what about Truth Divine Emperor? If Truth Divine Emperor recovered, where could he live? Yemo no longer had the mood to stay here. He planned to go to Yuandong Heaven and get Hao Heaven Grand Emperor's heritage first. With this, Yemo immediately went to find Jishu to say goodbye. He didn't find him, however. He left with his friends as though he had something important. Walking on the streets alone, it was evident he was poor. Everyone had pretty magic artifact clothes and luxurious armor, while he only had a normal shirt. His armor was very ordinary too. Yemo had been in divine damnation and body refinement frequently and used up all his defense magic artifact, much less armor. His magic artifacts on him now were all made from void secret silver. It was good for forging defensive immortal artifact and attack immortal artifact, but not good for armor. Yemo didn't worry about this. He was thinking about how to get to Yuandong Heaven. The Heaven Domain teleportation formation costed a few million. Yemo needed immortal crystals, so he decided to go sell something at a merchant tower. A beautiful instrumental music sounded and Yemo was immediately captivated. He then saw 12 goddesses coming over on clouds. They were playing music as they went. The rainbow clouds moved in an aesthetic rhythm that seemed very pleasing. There was a huge lotus cloud in the center that was empty. The people on the road moved aside. Yemo also moved aside, giving the spacious street over to these goddesses. Who is Ethereal Immortal Pond greeting this time? Such big scene. This is nothing, look. It's the Ethereal Immortal Pond 12 sounds. Yemo was shocked. Ethereal Immortal Pond was a 8-star sect in South Peace State. He didn't expect that Ethereal Immortal Pond had such huge status in the immortal realm. They were even in the Grand Heaven Domain. A blue-dressed female immortal walked out of a luxurious immortal rest tower with the company of a thin-eyed Great Eternity immortal. Yemo immediately recognized the two. It was Long Yu Emperor Sex Sii Shiyu and Li Kuan. Yemo thought she had left here, but instead she was still here. The Ethereal Immortal Pond 12 sounds were ordered by the saint to come greet Shiyu goddess. The 12 goddesses standing on the clouds had very crisp voices and spoke in unison. Seeing them each hold a different music instrument, Yemo realized why they were called the 12 sounds. Even though Li Kuan came from an emperor sect, this greeting was too serious for her. Li Kuan's name was called Shiyu Goddess. She probably still didn't forget Feng Shi, so she used this name. However, that martial brother of hers stuck to her non-stop, making Yemo unable to talk to her. Now he couldn't go up as well. Yemo shook his head. When his power was high enough, he would go to Longyu Emperor sect. If this Li Kuan was already married, then never mind. If not, then he would give the bead back to her. Yemo, come over. A crisp voice sounded by Yemo's ear. Yemo looked back in shock, seeing that Li Kuan was staring at her. Her tone was very cold and prideful, as though he would be running over as soon as he heard this. Because Li Kuan used sound transmission, no one noticed. Yemo thought and ignored her. Who knew what she was thinking? If she set him up to offend her or the Ethereal Immortal Pond 12 sounds, he wouldn't be able to take it. Yemo, who had experienced all too much, not only didn't go over but instead used mobility technique to disappear from this street. Yemo sped up to fly out of Xianxia Immortal City. He didn't want to offend anyone nor any power now. He approved of Feng Shi, but there was no way he was going to risk his life to offend the Emperor sect or ethereal immortal pond. He already had enough troubles. He didn't offend any power in the Grand Heaven domain yet, and it was perfect for him to cultivate. Even that little immortal king was quite enough for him. She thought Emo, like everyone else, was coming for her due to her beauty, but now, Emo ran away instead. She told Emo to come over indeed because he wanted to teach him a lesson. She detested people who stared at her non-stop the first time they met her and even told her to stay. If it wasn't on the other people's account, she would have taught him a lesson. But now Emo ran away instead. Did he know what she was going to do, or did she really misunderstand him? Did he really know her? Li Kuan didn't believe Emo knew her. She had ascended to the immortal realm for nearly 10,000 years. Emo didn't seem that old, so there was no way she knew him from the cultivation realm. In the immortal realm, she rarely made friends other than people from her own sect. As Emo left, Li Kuan suddenly felt she lost something. She had this feeling 3 days ago, but it wasn't intense. Now it was more and more intense. After a long while, this feeling disappeared. Li Kuan breathed and greeted the 12 goddesses. You thank 12 sisters for coming to greet me. I still have some business. 12 sisters, please return. You will definitely come visit Sister Ning Yu at Ethereal Immortal Pond afterwards. Martial Sister Li. Where are you going? Shiu asked. Li Kuan disappeared from the spot, but her voice sounded, Martial Brother I have some private matters. After this I will be going to Ethereal Immortal Pond straight away. Martial Brother can go back to the sect first. Shiu's face was very bad. Emo was in one corner of the street and left quickly. He didn't expect a mere great extreme immortal was enough for his martial sister to chase out. If he met this guy alone outside, he might even kill him. He thought that ethereal immortal pond people would invite him to the sect too, but instead this happened. Now he didn't even have an excuse to go. Just when the 12 sounds didn't know what to do, a voice sounded, in this case, you guys go back first. I will go with you goddess later. Yes. The 12 sounds left the city. Emo breathed easy after leaving the city. He didn't exchange immortal crystals, but it was fine. The teleportation formation to Yuandong Heaven wasn't at Flying Dawn City anyways. He would get to Ping Liang Immortal City first. The young city lord was Qi Baitsong. This Qi Baitsong seemed like a fancy pants, but he was a genuine person. Just when Emo was about to release his blue moon, a space ripple came. Emo was shook, and just when he wanted to use mobility technique, he heard Li Kuan's voice, Do you really have business with me? Emo didn't answer her. He scanned his spirit sense out and ensured there was no other people before breathing easy. That's right. Then tell me. Li Kuan's tone eased up a bit. She felt that sense of calling grow stronger when she neared Emo. Emo frowned. This was too close to Flying Dawn City. If people saw him with Li Kuan, it wasn't good. No one would reason with a mere great extreme immortal. Even if they knew there was nothing between them, some people would still kill him without hesitation. I can't say it here. If you want to know, then follow me. Emo released Blue Moon and dashed away. Li Kuan frowned but said nothing. She released a flying magic artifact and followed over too. It was also a top-grade flying immortal artifact and seemed to be higher level than Emo's. In less than 5 minutes after they left, another figure landed where they were. It was Shiu. He wanted to confirm if Li Kuan was here with Emo, but he found a spirit sense mark here. It was left behind by Li Kuan. Her tone was very uncomfortable and even warned Shiu to stop following. Shiu sneered and left. For hours later, Emo finally stopped. This was an extremely distant valley with ordinary immortal spirit chi. No immortal would come here. Even so, Emo still set up a few restrictions covering up their chi. Seeing Emo's fluent means, Li Kuan was surprised. Even the top immortal formation sects wouldn't have such prodigies. She just waited for Emo on the side. She wasn't afraid of Emo suddenly attacking. Emo was only Great Extreme Immortal Primary Stage, while she was Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary Stage. After finishing this, Emo looked at Li Kuan and said, Before I say it, I want to ask you one thing. Just tell me clearly. Okay, Li Kuan said. Your martial brother Sii Shiyu seems to love you, and I heard that little immortal king Lu Mang feels the same way too and wants to engage with you. Is this real? What do you think? However, Li Kuan didn't reproach DMO for asking this. She said calmly, yes. You're right, but I already love someone. I won't engage with anyone. No one can force me. Not even Heaven Lord disciple. You love Feng Shi? You didn't forget him? EMO suddenly realized why Feng Shi loved her this much. You know Feng Shi, where is he? Where is he? Li Kuan's tone became very shaky. Seeing this, EMO thought to himself, this woman was indeed worth Feng Shi loving her. From her actions, EMO knew she never forgot him. Feng Shi's spirit transfer formation, he was tricked by his father. He wanted to set up soul-nourishing formation, using his own soul to nourish yours. EMO started explaining. I know all this, I know. Li Kuan murmured. When EMO said that Feng Shi was injured by Li Kuan's father, and then used by Miao Huizhen as a soul jar, and even when he lost his soul, he murmured non-stop, whereas Li Kuan's face was covered in tears. When I saved him, his soul was gone. He turned his will into a tear bead. I've brought this here, you can have it. EMO took out the bead and gave it to Li Kuan. Li Kuan grabbed the bead shakily. A familiar chi came. The two red tears on the bead made Li Kuan unable to control the sadness in her heart. She knelt of the ground and in a heart-tearing cry, Feng Shi. Two blood tears flowed out and fell onto the bead.